I mean, yeah. So you know, sometimes yeah, you just do things, yeah, even though you know the outcome, but it will be interesting to try it anyway. It's very interesting what just took place right now. So I can't lie, fam. It's very, very interesting, yeah. So yeah, I thought let me just come on and you know do a live, you know what I'm saying? In respect of what did just take place. Ron Yassa. You get me? All right, make sure everyone can hear me first and foremost, yeah? Give me some nines in the chat or a red, black, green. We got to sister Sumaya, you know what I mean? You know what I'm gonna do, fam? You know what I'm gonna do? Yeah. I'm just gonna share this link in it right now. All right, family. Yeah. Since I don't mind betting, you know, we got Ultra Funky still. Yeah, I love that. Look at 2,000 super chat. You don't know. Yeah, big up. Yeah, that was a very interesting exchange. I just want to let people kind of give me an analysis here of what the hell just happened, as well, and if you get me, like man was in any way like incorrect in the thing. Yeah, I might even just listen to what she's saying in it, little piece, and respond to it on a cheeky one still. But yeah, it's very funny. So for those who don't know, yeah, let me just explain how this conversation came about. All right, let me just explain how this conversation came about. So I'm on COE, yeah, and I get to hear that Betty wants to come on the chat, yeah, and she's saying that I shouldn't be allowed to speak for Africans or something like that, right? So I'm like, I want like, but initially I didn't realize that that's what she wanted to come on for, because I was gonna make way for her to come on. I was about to jump off here, and Leon, yeah, Leon said, "We got yeah, idiot, you gotta stay in the thing, like, because Betty wants to come for me, them kind of things there, yeah." So it wasn't until afterwards, yeah, that I started to read, yeah, Wagwan, proper like Wagwan in the chat, yeah. Now let me show you some of the things that Betty was saying in the chat, right? Because bear in mind, I'm on COE's Hangouts, yeah, but I wasn't reading the chat feature. So as soon as I come on, basically, yeah, Betty starts to lay into man, innit, yeah. And it's interesting. One thing I never got to speak to her about is the idea that she feels like the Algerian brother is more African than me. But she said because Shaka is playing at being African instead of just being what he is, African Caribbean, he comes across fake, yeah? Shaka called the Algerian guy not African and refused to say he's Jamaican, aka Caribbean. It's not very respectful to Africans. Shaka regularly claims, and that's what she said, Shaka regularly claims to be more African than real Africans, yeah? He should accept he's Caribbean, yeah? So, like, man needs to know when man made these statements, innit? That's the first thing, innit? Man needs to know, yeah, when man made these statements, yeah? All right, that's the first thing I need to know in it. I'm gonna share the link in it, yeah, and anybody who wants to come on can come on and let me know where man went. Like, you get me, like what, like, you know what I'm saying, like where did man go wrong in it? But to be honest, COE, I knew it was gonna happen, didn't it? I knew it was gonna happen, yeah. I knew it was gonna happen, but you know, sometimes, yeah, like I just need to prove myself correct today. I'm not gonna lie, fam. And then at the same time, what's it called? Cause she said she wanted to come for man in the chat, but she's gonna say you was disrespectful and made it so she couldn't come and say what she wanted to say. Then she said man was scared to have the conversation and all these things. So I'm saying, all right, cool, let's have the conversation then, innit? So, you know what I'm saying? You know, personally, I think I was very respectful, you know what I mean? I think personally, you know, I was very patient, I was very respectful, You know what I'm saying? I didn't, you know, even raise my voice even slightly. I didn't, you know, try to override her and what she was saying. You know what I'm saying? I listened to her speak. You know, even the normal flow of a conversation, you know, she was taking it as me trying to interrupt her. So, you know, I stopped speaking whenever she was speaking, you know, like that. And just let the thing run. So yeah, like anybody who heard what just took place here, like, I beg. In fact, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna actually pull up the thing, yeah. Let's see if I can pull up the thing and play it. All right. I'm gonna share the link while I'm playing this thing. And anybody who wants to come on can come on in it. Yeah. All right. 1 second. Let me see if I can get to the point where after waiting for like 15 minutes, the conversation actually started. You get me? Yeah, to be honest, Ultra, I didn't think that was going to be the case. You get me? I didn't think that was going to be the case. But, you know, every now and then you have to do a little experiment, innit? Keeps life exciting. You know, there ways there. Yeah. And anybody, furthermore, who actually wants to have a conversation with man about this whole African thing and what is an African and whether man should define myself as an African or not, feel free to come through in it. You get me? Feel free to come through. Let me see if I can get to the starting point of this conversation right here. You know, like that. So, all right, let's go. Good luck to everyone in the chat. Let's go. Let's get into this thing.
Even though I've answered it, Caribbean refers to people from the Caribbean whose ancestors descend.
By the way, yeah, but my question to anybody that heard the conversation, yeah, if someone says to you, I don't want to be identified with the black experience in the Caribbean, yeah, and you say, but what's that got to do with me identifying as an African? And they say, because I don't want to be identified with the Caribbean because we wasn't enslaved. Have they answered the question?
Oh. Yeah, sorry about that. I just had a phone call and stuff. Yeah, so I wanted to welcome Shakara to the show. Shakara, would you like to introduce yourself? Yeah, so I wanted to welcome Shakara to.
Oh, sorry, I got the thing on. Sorry, on.
Yeah. It's all right.
Yeah,
if you want to introduce yourself, on.
Yeah, be like, yeah, bro, my head's not me. My name's Shakara. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and yeah, I'm just here for the conversation, really. You know what I mean? So be like to everyone in the chat. You get me? Be like Betty. And we're there. I think it's the first time I've been on your channel still, so we give thanks.
Okay, thank you for coming. So the topic of the conversation is for the audience is what is an African? What is an African Caribbean? What is an African American? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to read the official terms, yeah, and then we'll have this convo. And big up to the people in the chat. Please don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and share the video. So we're reading the Collins Dictionary definition. Yeah. Okay. The African Caribbean refers to people from the Caribbean whose ancestors descend from Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah. An African, let's see what an African is. So an African is a member of an indigenous ethnic group of Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa, a person born or living in Africa. Yeah. Or next one, related to Africa or people, languages and cultures. Yeah. A person of African descent. Okay, yeah. Let's see, let me just do African American.
Now tell me, family, yeah, is it me, yeah? Is it me or by the definition that she just read, yeah, like, does not the term African apply to man? Am I confused? You get me? Am I confused? You know, like that. You know them ones. Yeah. Am I confused? When you say I should go with the Lions then, yeah? I don't know, fam. The Lions then is on some next thing right about now, fam. I'm not really I don't even know what that conversation is about. You get me? To be quite frank with you. So I can't even really deal with that right now. If Ras wants me to go over there, the man will go over there still. So yeah, talk to him in a minute, but yeah, I'll go over there. But I'm not on that conversation that they're having right there. I don't know what that's about. Yeah, but anyway. You know, like that.
Definition of African American is an American of African descent, especially Black African descent. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyone who wants to come in and convo, I'll open it up later. Okay. So, what's your thesis? What thesis are you putting forward?
That I'm an African. That I'm African, and I think, to be honest with you, when it comes to my identity, Collins Dictionary is not my primary resource. However, even by the definition that you read out, they would seem to apply. You know what I'm saying? In terms of me identifying myself as an African. But yeah, my thesis is that I'm an African because of my ancestry, my history, my culture, and it's also a political designation as well.
Okay. And when you say so can I ask you, are you African or are you African Caribbean?
I'm an African from the Caribbean.
Okay, so which one is that? So are you African or are you African Caribbean?
I'm an African from the Caribbean. So all right. So evidently, yeah, man ain't denying this Caribbean experience, yeah. But let me just explain, you know, why man calls myself an African. In fact, I did a video a couple months ago, yeah, that broke down, and actually a video on Got Kush TV that kind of broke down the whole use of the term African, yeah. But to me, my ancestral origin, yeah, is fundamental. I don't, just like Betty don't want it to be defined by, and we could have got into this, you know, if she weren't so out of order, but the idea that she and Africans, you know what, I didn't even get to play this thing, you know, don't want to be defined, yeah, by the Caribbean slavery experience, yeah. It's the same way that Africans from the Caribbean who identify themselves as African are saying, listen, this experience, yeah, called the enslavement period and them kind of things there, yeah, is important, yeah, right? And it's an essential part of our experience, but it doesn't define who we are. Yeah, our ancestors were not slaves, yeah, and so even though they were enslaved, and so we define ourselves according to our heritage, just like anybody else on the planet does, yeah. So she gave the example of America, all right, and why Americans don't call themselves British, yeah. And I think she found there's more nuance in there than that. She mentioned the terms like Irish American and German American and whatever else like that, but they still hark back to their ancestry. Now, if you're talking to a Chinese person, yeah, in America, they're gonna say that they're Chinese. Chinese person in Jamaica, Chinese. Yeah? Chinese person anywhere in the world, wherever they were born, yeah? Whether they've been to China or not, whatever circumstance brought them to wherever they are, Chinese. Jamaica's been in Chinese been in Jamaica for generations. Yeah? And the whole of them yeah, are known as Mr. Chin, yeah, and they understand and they know and they affirm that they are Chinese. Okay, so what it is, right, is that there are some people, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, who like to create division and separation between African people. One set of such people are Africans from the diaspora who deny that they are African. Yeah, that's one set of such people. The other set of such people are Africans from the continent who want to deny the Africanness of those of us who were enslaved in the Caribbean. Okay, and there's a lot of reasons for this. Yeah, there are a number of reasons for this. All right. Somehow Betty and people like her, yeah, who have this idea of not wanting to be identified with the transatlantic slave trade, and the idea that their ancestors were not enslaved, which is a nonsense. I like how is it you take people from their homeland, yeah, and then argue that the people that were taken away and the people that remained there are now two separate and distinct people, that the people that were taken away were affected by something, that the people that, you know, were kept, yeah, remained where they are, yeah, were not affected by it. It's like, imagine you got a family, yeah, all right, imagine you got a family and let's say you and your brother, you got a brother and a sister, yeah? Let's say you are in Africa one day, yeah, and you're with your brother and your sister, yeah, and some slave raiders come, yeah, and they capture your brother and your sister, you manage to escape. You run back to your parents, yeah, and say, all right, you know, my brother and my sister got kidnapped, innit? You never see them again. They were trafficked across the Atlantic. They're enslaved, yeah? Right? Let's say this year. You have children in Africa. Yeah? They have children in Jamaica. Are you no longer family? Now let's say all of you are Akan. Let's say all of you are Akan. At what point, yeah, do those children stop being Akan? I can answer that question. Now people got nothing to say in the chat in it, so if anybody wants to come on, they can come on in it. At what point? Yeah. Let's say those children that you have, why them as a child with somebody who's Yoruba, yeah, are they no longer Akan or Yoruba? And by the way, Kim always say in the chat, yeah, about the E1 B1 thing. It's a point that I didn't get to make, yeah. But she's wrong when Betty is wrong when she says that if I do a DNA test, it's gonna take me back to the Caribbean. No, it won't. Yeah, there's no DNA test that I'm gonna do that's gonna take me back to the Caribbean. Yeah, any DNA test that I do, yeah, is going to take me back principally to Africa. And some, quite frankly, yeah, are going to take me, depending on what exactly they're examining, is Europe because of the rape of my ancestry. But no DNA test is going to take me back to the Caribbean. Because as far as I'm aware, I don't have indigenous blood, yeah, in my lineage. You know what I'm saying? Right? But my DNA will take me to West and Central Africa. Fact. Yeah? Principally. All right? That's a fact. And I can say this with some authority because my mother had done a DNA test. And it never took her it never took her to Antigua, my G. You get me? But never took her to Antigua. You know, like that. So where? So yeah, it's a very interesting conversation. 1 second. Greetings, Black Star.
Yo, greetings. What's going on?
I'm good. Do I know who I'm speaking? I don't even know if I know who I'm speaking to.
No, I don't think you do. Still, we've never met.
All right. Did you hear the exchange that I had with the sister on another platform, or are you just hearing me talk?
On the when?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm doing this show because I had a conversation with on another platform, which obviously you didn't hear. So I was just checking if you heard it.
No. I think I did. You're talking about on where was this on a debate about on a Hangouts with Betty? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and she was like, "Oh, what? You're not African or something?"
Well, more to the point, she's saying that I'm not just African, I'm African Caribbean, although she has said I'm not African before, though.
She was like, "You're a hybrid of
Oh,
African."
no, that's a long time conversation. I'm talking about something that just happened just now.
Oh no, then I didn't hear it. No.
Hey, go on. What do you want to say?
You was just saying about how when do you stop being African, or when do you stop being Akan or whatever? And I don't think none of these things we ever stop being. Like, don't matter what your kind of experiences, I don't think you ever stop being what you originally are. The only thing you could do is choose not to follow the teachings and stuff. And I would say that would be more of a what's the word I'm looking for? But that would be more of something that's not natural to you. I called in today properly, reason being because I was watching the video. There was a video that you've put up on another channel, and I think it had your dad and Leo Mohammed debating. Yeah, powerful video, very powerful video. But right at the end, there was like a speech where basically your dad was like, if you have where would a lion like to where as a lion, where would you like to live?
Yeah.
In the circus?
Yeah.
In the zoo? Or in the jungle? Now, just because you're a lion and you're not living in the jungle, you're living in a circus, you could still be a scary lion. You could still roar. You could still be dangerous. But nobody would want, out of choice, to live in the zoo nor in the circus.
Anytime I need.
Hello?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So basically, just because you're over there in the Caribbean or in Europe or wherever it is you choose to, lay your hat, it doesn't mean that you stop being who you are. You can only just choose not to follow what you are. And that's most probably a determinant to you.
This is the point I'm trying to make. Now, Betty is acting as though I have insulted her in some way because I am conflating the African experience in the Caribbean with the African experience on the continent. Yeah. Which is a nonsense, especially given the fact that the African experience on the continent is not all exactly the same. Yeah, like I'll be speaking to Somali brothers, he'll be telling you we've got a different experience. Yeah. And when they explain it, they do have a different experience to some degree. Yeah, of course. They do. That's a fact. Right? You know what I'm saying? No one ain't denying these things, isn't it? Right? You know what I'm saying? So why is it then that the African experience in the Caribbean can't be African then? Because there's specific elements to it. Like, why is that the case, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense.
The thing is, I think there's like a lot of different ways into way how people look at the whole kind of black struggle across the world. Like, especially when it comes to even when you bring it like to present day, and then you try to analyze the history is not kind of taught maybe from one perspective, or maybe a African perspective. Like if you hear history, like most people, when they start doing their history and going back into it, they might start off in Egypt and then maybe work their way back to wherever they think they're from, and start going on. And all the experiences are different. I don't think everyone knows exactly how things happened. We just know that, all right, these people over here did a fuckery, and other people over there did another madness, and other people over there do a madness. I think timeline would be definitely like a good thing to kind of understand in a lot of these things. Now, with Betty, I've heard her say things like people of North Africa today are African.
Yeah.
And that being because they live in the land today.
Yeah.
Where now she would say the Caribbeans are not African.
Yeah.
Because they're Caribbean.
Yeah.
Now, for me, because I kind of look at it as black people are African.
Yeah.
I kind of see it as whether you're in the Caribbean or you're in Europe or you're in Australia or whatever, you're still African. And I would see the people in North Africa as something else other than African. Like, I think I had a similar kind of talk with someone a few days ago about, because they were like, are you British?
Right.
And when you look into your history and stuff, I wouldn't want to align myself with the same people that did these things. Am I British? I understand the culture,
right?
Because I was born into it and stuff. But I wouldn't pinpoint it myself and say I am British.
Exactly.
They then turned around and was like, "But you got a British passport. You got all of this," and I'm like, "The passport's useful. It allows me to move into different countries,
exactly,
and stuff. Like, I'm a dual national.
Okay.
If they told me to give up one of my passports,
yes,
I'd give up the British passport, to be honest.
Yes. So would I if I just.
But at the same time, yeah, it's not like I'm gonna say that my Nigeria's any better. Like, all right, I can find a safe place and a safe haven in Nigeria, but in the way we're living, in the way they're living over there, it's not like it's any better, so to speak.
Yeah. Well,
and that's just, and I believe that's just because a lot of us are not in control of our own destiny.
Yeah,
a lot of us put our faith and beliefs into other things, and it doesn't allow us to move as a black force rather than a separated being of conquered people.
Now, you have touched on the essential point, yeah? And if I'm going to come back to this, I'm going to take a peek in and see what I go on in this chat for us, in this conversation for a sec, yeah? I'm going to be a little bit of an eavesdropper. I'm feeling, mischievous right now, innit? So let's hold tight, innit?
What we are doing, because to be able to go to these Igbo societies, these ethnic societies, and join their society, yeah? I asked the question at because and this is another thing, I go to my BBO meeting, my ethnic group meeting, yeah? So I take offense. I'm not playing at being an African. This is who I am. I'm not playing at being a BBO. I asked that question, yeah? And they've never even thought of that. My uncle said, you know what, Betty, I didn't even think of that. And this is what a lot of Africans in the Caribbean have to remember. Many of the Africans have not really even thought of the people that descend from slaves. And they've never thought that they might want to come back in that sense. They're so focused on people like me that are just 1 or 2 generations from Africa. They don't have a contingency plan for the 200 to 400 year people.
That's interesting. So at least we've got some progress there, yeah, because you referred to me as African from the Caribbean. So yeah, we give thanks. You know what I mean? We give thanks. We give thanks, yo. Yeah. Well, let me show you something. Yeah. Let me show you something. Yeah? You see when it comes to this identification of Africa, because you know what's funny? Why I was trying to clarify the things that she was saying, because she was basically saying that we don't want. She's offended by people that conflate the Caribbean experience with the African experience, because she don't want to be identified with slavery and these kinds of things. And Jamaica dominates, you know, the black experience over here and blah blah blah. And I'm asking her, but I get what you're saying. You don't want to be identified with the Caribbean. I don't see what that's got to do with me identifying myself with Africa. Yeah, and she acts like I'm not appreciating what she's saying. I'm saying, but you're saying basically you don't want to be identified with the Caribbean, but I'm not identifying you with the Caribbean. I'm identifying myself with Africa. That's what I'm doing. Right. So what's that got to do? But the funny thing is though, yeah, and she's saying that, you know, we act like everybody was enslaved and nobody fought back. The idea that Africans fought back, yeah, is an idea that has been principally promoted by Africans who call themselves African, whether they're from the continent or the diaspora. The idea of Africans fighting back here is a narrative that comes hand in hand with us calling ourselves Africans wherever we are on the planet Earth.
Yeah, I can agree with that, because if you look at it, if you not saying that they didn't fight back in Africa, but the most notable like fight backs are not in Africa. They're like in the Caribbean.
I'm gonna say that the most documented, yeah, because often one of the things that they do is that they act like Africa's principal role in the thing was to sell us, yeah, and it's not true.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I feel like it's like the how people fought back on the continent is less documented. You know what I'm saying? You get me? Oh. No, I'm not gonna do that chemo, fam. That's off the panel, innit? I ain't making no friend around here, fam. Like if Rasworth on his panel, then cool. But I'm not gonna join this panel to speak to Betty, innit? Like if Betty wants me to come back on the panel, yeah, then maybe I'll consider it. Yeah, but I'm not Jim Screechy in the thing, fam. We're a big friend around here. Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? All right. What's the cool? Yeah, so that's the interesting thing. But I'm saying that what she doesn't want to take into consideration, yeah, and this is the ignorance, yeah, that this is dealing with at the moment, is the idea. She one thing that she did not ask me at all, and doesn't want to consider is the context in which Africans from the diaspora begin to call themselves African, and why. Do you know what I'm saying? Like why? Yeah, and why does man principally call myself an African? Yeah, why? Yeah, why is it that Caribbean is not a primary designation for man? You know what I'm saying? Like, why is that the case? Yeah, and the long and short of it is, yeah, that one, people were ripped. Yeah, there was an attempt to rip a people from their heritage and their identity. That's the first thing, right?
Of course,
right. And so in reclaiming that, people affirmed the identity, yeah, broadest and most populous identity that will define who they are, which is African. So man isn't just Iwa no more, man isn't just Akan, man isn't just Bakongo, yeah, Chiluba, or you know what I'm saying, any of these designations. Man isn't just or Efik, yeah. Man isn't just these things. Man has parentage that have various different lineages from the continent. So man is African, yeah. But the other side to it is that even the term African on the continent comes into being, yeah, when Africans are looking to define themselves beyond just the borders that were drawn up by the Berlin Conference, yeah. So you find things that, you know, sometimes it was regional, yeah. So you might find a West African kind of Pan-African expression, or an East African or a South African kind of expression, and then that evolves into this Africa. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like the idea that man is not African or man doesn't have the right to, and you know the funny thing is, this whole conversation comes in about, yeah, because Betty is incensed, yeah, like based on what you were just saying, you know, by the fact that I had some debates here with some white people, yeah, and I'm saying white people because they define themselves as white, yeah, from North Africa, yeah, right, recently, and I told them that they're not African, yeah, and that they're not indigenous, yeah, to the continent. Yeah, man, I am indigenous to the continent. So what it is, right, is that Betty is offended because I told these North Africans, yeah, who don't identify as African more than say, you know, who identify themselves as white, yeah,
Yeah.
And who were very disrespectful, yeah, to let's use Betty, terminology, right? There's two sisters, yeah, by the name of Golda and Gadu, yeah, who come to the park who've been coming to the park recently, yeah. These white people from North Africa called them savages, yeah, right, and ridiculed the attire of certain nations from from sub-Saharan quote unquote Africa, yeah. Said that
who did the white people? You're saying?
Yeah, these white people from Algeria, yeah, said that
Africans,
these black people in Africa are barbarians because they're always worried. This is what these white people from Algeria said, yeah, to two sisters from Uganda and Sudan. One is from Uganda and Sudan, and the other is from Sierra Leone. This is what they said, you know. And Betty is incensed by me telling them that they're invaders to the team. Yeah, this is the yeah. That she had
a problem with you because of that.
Basically,
yeah. So this is like ain't this the same divide? Yeah, this is why, because we're not all on like the same Pan-African kind of thought. There's always a division, and this is like so. Her way of thinking is basically everyone who's on the continent now is African.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone on the continent now is African. So maybe you can't have say in Africa, but they can. Not knowing the history of the fact that these people invaded Africa, and some people were taken out of Africa.
Right.
So it's like maybe the way the world's evolved now, it's like she's saying, all right, cool, let's stop everything now. This is Africa now, that's the Caribbean, that's Europe. But now we're all claiming that, which is the problem when people don't know the history.
Exactly.
If you knew the history, then everyone can be like, all right, cool, let's put all the things back in their proper places, and let's move on forward from that.
Exactly.
But to be honest, this whole world way order, or whatever you want to call it, like I don't think we can ever get to like a way where it's gonna suit, benefit, or even people can understand it. Because to be honest, like there's things that have been happening in Africa for so long, they've become a part of the furniture. Like even when we go back to start talking about religion, people have been practicing foreign religions in Africa for so long, that they can't be. It's like it's impossible to be taken out of them. Now, land has been given up for people. Like even the Moroccans, Algerians, Tunisians, they've been there for so many years that they're not gonna agree to leave their home. They're not gonna say like those Moroccans they really feel Moroccan. They really feel Algerian.
Yeah,
they really feel a part of Africa.
You get me?
So where does anybody like? How does anybody move forward with this way of thinking, or do they join the Pan-African theory? Are they included in the Pan-African theory?
That is kind of the debate that I was having. But my point is this though, bro. All right, first of all, let me explain to you the context which the conversation came about here. Me and a couple other brothers, one Somali brother, one brother who's also from the Caribbean, was having a conversation. This white guy comes in and he wants to come at me, basically questioning whether I say I'm a Pan-Africanist, but he don't believe I'm talking about North Africa. I'm just dealing with Sub-Saharan Africa. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And I'm saying to him, but the reality is, when it comes to these things, the designation of North Africa and Sub-Saharan was not drawn up by people from Sub-Saharan Africa or Pan-Africanists. The people that are in North Africa don't define themselves as African, and don't define themselves in unity or as the same people as those below, as those in Sub-Saharan Africa. They have an identity by their own designation. This is not me imposing it on them. Yeah, they what's it called? Some of them, what's it called? They play, they all of them are in the Arab League, for example. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The dominant identity up there is Arabic. And when you look at the condition of black people in those nations, yeah, they're oppressed, yeah, and discriminated against, right? So when you talk about Pan-Africanism, we don't give no Africa, but the first question that we're asking is, what are going for them black people up there, yeah, that are being oppressed? That's what we want to know, yeah, because we know the history and the kind of thing there in terms of the fact that that land was once black, yeah, and so it becomes how it is today due to centuries of invasion. Yeah, centuries. So whether one wants to say that they're African now, whatever, the reality is that they don't believe, yeah, them people there, and they know that they don't believe, yeah, that the people them that they're discriminating against, yeah, right, and them are the same people. They're not looking at the black people in Algeria, Morocco, Mauritania, Egypt, and Libya and their places there and saying, yeah, you know what, we and them are one. We're the same people out here, fam. We're all African. That's not what's taking place out here, fam. You get me? You know what I'm saying? So I'm out there with that argument. But the fact of the matter is, yeah, how is it a next black woman, you know, from the continent Africa, yeah, has more sensibilities towards a white Algerian than her own brother and sister from the Caribbean? Think about it, yeah. If we're gonna be literal with the thing, let's say we're gonna define these white Algerians, yeah, as African, yeah. What's unquestionable is that Betty has more of a connection to me than she's got to them. Cause there's Igbo and Efik descendants in the Caribbean. With them there in Algeria and them kind of things there. Big up Black Star Story seems to have dropped off the thing. Yeah, I'm gonna take another peek into this situation right here. You get me?
I care about my story as an African. What he cares about is his story. And I'm not the only African that's getting upset when they're being told that they're African Caribbean or Afro-Caribbean. But he didn't have no energy for that. But then he claims to respect us Africans.
Yeah, I don't think that you lot should be cussed for not knowing patois, but I don't think Shakara would do that either, though. If I'm honest, or Leon, I don't think they'd be ignorant to do that. And any Jamaican or Caribbean people that are
can I say something?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, look, good evening, Betty. Yeah?
Evening.
Yes, I don't see the issue and why you threw Shakara and Leon off, really, because those are probably, you know, two of the very, you know.
First and foremost, Leon never came on my channel. Yeah, so before you start talking, make sure you get the story straight. Leon never came on this channel to get thrown off. Yeah, yeah. Shakara got thrown off because he repeatedly interrupted me and then repeatedly kept asking the same question and refused to address what I said. So before you start talking, make sure you get your facts straight.
To say is like, I don't really see the issue of mine calling himself African, innit? Because the way I see it is, when we look at the way people describe people, they base it on phenotype. And when people look at him, they see him as an African. So I don't see what really the issue is and like why it had to go to that level where it got to. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No. He came to my show,
yes,
and he repeatedly interrupted me. This is my channel, Betty's Closet. If you come on my show, you don't let me finish my sentence, yeah? And you do that several times. I'm going to show you the door.
Okay.
Do you have a problem with that?
No, well, yeah, I kind of do, because when it comes to
okay,
Shakara,
then off you go. Off you go.
No problem.
Off you go.
Don't kick it, Betty. Don't kick it, Betty. Don't kick it.
No, I am going to kick it. And this is my channel. Yeah? I know. Yeah? If I'm talking and a man constantly interrupts me, yeah? And then you say you don't see why I would have a problem with that. Yeah, I would have a problem with it because I like order. And it's a thing called showing respect. The same way Leon put me on mute when I supposedly interrupted him. So I've got to do anybody else the same way because this is my channel, my house.
Yeah, see all that misinformation is funny still. I can't lie. It's misinformation, but it's, you know what I mean? It's very funny still. It's very funny. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, that's the last peeking I'm gonna do still. Black Star is back. Samaya, if you're listening, feel free to try country. I'm gonna share the link. Again. Yeah, it's very funny, fam. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know, fam. Anyone that knows that, yeah, knows that when it comes to these things, yeah, man keeps it respectful, innit? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, like you just have to rely on you know, your own knowledge of yourself, innit? Like, in the sense of the fact that, like, man, we're interrupting there, innit? You know what I'm saying? Like, really and truly, you know, that normal flow of the conversation, yeah. So but you can listen to me on there talking and stop finishing and letting her finish saying everything that she's saying, and then asking her, "Are you finished?" Yeah, and these things. So yeah, you get me. It's very interesting. What do you mean by that, everything?
Shakara.
Yeah.
Hello. How
You got on, bro?
How do you feel like when you come across that sort of kind of rhetoric, like especially from an African, about
Fam,
you're not an African?
it's concerning, but I'm saying I just see it as a part of the mental sickness, fam. It's all part of the product of the slavery and colonization, in it, right? I don't see it as any different from the African from the Caribbean who denies their Africanness. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Both of them come from a place of ignorance. Both of them come from a place of self-hate. Both of them come from a place of division. Both of them are coming from a place of oftentimes a superiority complex. Yeah. Because in my humble experience, the African from the Caribbean who denies that they're an African often does so from a place of feeling superior. Yeah. Feeling superior to African. One second.
You know what I'm saying?
Can you repeat that?
No, I said that because the Caribbean island was used as like a slave island, there's a lot of people in the Caribbean that would want to kind of ditch the slave masters' label, for example. You know what I'm saying? Just be 100% back to what their DNA says they are.
Yeah. What's it called? Anyway, yeah, what we're saying there, right? But what did I say? What did I say a minute ago? It's got out my head. Where was that guy with this?
You were talking about how
It's gone out my head, fam. Oh yeah, superiority complex. All right, superiority complex. Yeah. So the people them that say that people Africans from the Caribbean are not African often are coming from a superiority complex. Like, you know, that I've heard people say, you know what I'm saying, yeah, you're not us. We sold you into slavery. We didn't want you. It's that kind of narrative. Yeah. It's we're better than you type thing. Yeah. And both of these things come from a sick kind of colonial mentality. Yeah, there's nothing more to be said about it. You know what I'm saying? It's just that. And to be quite frank with you, yeah, Betty ain't the only one, yeah, from the chat who comes, yo, Kojo, sorry, bro. I think I missed you as well. I apologize. I'm missing the back chat. I'm gonna pay more attention to the back end, yeah. So I apologize. Kojo the African. Yeah, make sure you're an African and then you can come through in it. You get me? Samaya, you there?
Yes, big up. Give me 1 second, yeah. I'm sorting for me.
I feel blessed there. Like I hadn't heard your voice for so long, and I've heard it twice in 2 days. Yeah,
Big fan, yeah.
You know,
1 second.
that's cool. Do your thing. So yeah, to me, it's all sickness, isn't it? Like, so I don't take it personal at the same time, but I see it for what it is, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, when it comes to Betty specifically, like, if she was actually addressing the things that I've actually said, yeah, and prepared to be honest about the things that I've actually said, maybe it might mean more to me, innit? But she's not. So what am I supposed to do with that? You know, like that. You get me? Anyway, there.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm back.
Go ahead. Yeah, what do you want to
The
say?
mad one. So yeah, to be honest with you, you know, Betty's been saying this this kind of issue with you and some of the other people. I've heard it for some time. I don't agree with it, to be honest.
Yeah,
But I think if you listen to her, because it's not just that point that she makes.
yeah,
Like at first when I heard her, I didn't really like agree with any of it. But when I listened to her a bit more, I
yeah.
think she does have maybe some, I don't know, valid points or concerns in terms of what I gathered from her, other than you're not African, is because she mentioned her tribe and her ancestry and her peoples.
Yeah.
So in a way, what she's trying to say is she doesn't want someone else kind of representing her people. And I know if you look at it, Africa as a sum, we are all one people. But if she's talking specifically of her tribe, then it kind of makes sense. And I think what she's trying to say is diasporan. I don't know what the correct term would be. Afro-Caribbean. She doesn't want like that specific group to kind of drown out her voice, which I think it makes sense. It's just like, can there be space for everybody? Really, I think is the question. Or does, you know,
This is the point.
does one voice overpower all the others?
But this is the thing, though. I don't like. She's from Nigeria, sis. Yeah, like how Nigerians there are in the UK. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
And I think that's why it's not actually even your fault, because if there's an absence of a voice there, it's not necessarily your fault to make, you know what I mean, to bring out those voices.
this is what I'm saying. And that has nothing to do with whether I'm an African or not. Let's say, because if I come across Africans from East Africa,
Yeah.
I'll give you an anecdote. Yeah, I was at an award show, right? The BAFTA, yeah, and I can't remember what the acronym stands for, yeah, but it's like a Black People Award show, yeah. And this sister won an award, and she's from Uganda, yeah. And in her acceptance speech, she said, "Yeah, I'm so glad that I won this award and putting Uganda on the map because it's not just West Africa in the UK in it. We've got East Africa as well, and East Africans can do it too, yeah." And so from her perspective, yeah, her thing is, you know what?
Yeah.
The voice of the West African is drawing out the thing, right? You see what I'm saying? Now she may have a valid point, right? In saying
And
that.
I actually second that.
Right, but does that mean that the West African is not African?
No. And I think that's why I differ with Betty. Yeah.
Right.
In my exchange. Sorry, go on.
Go, sis, go.
No, I'm saying I've actually had a little bit of that blowback of people kind of, and I felt it sometimes even when it comes to Black issues. I almost feel like if I say something, it's not accepted the same as if a Caribbean or West African, because I've said it quite a few times. I think Kimo will say that as well. I sometimes feel like the Caribbean voice and the West African voice is accepted as the pivotal voice to be heard. You know, I don't necessarily know if that I can blame anybody other than maybe us not speaking up, us not being as actively, fighting our corner as we should do. But it definitely, I think it exists, that sort of feeling of, essentially what is Blackness and what is Africanness, and everybody has maybe inherent biases.
My thing is though, like all of those issues are relevant issues, isn't it? Like man don't have no, you know what I'm saying? But that ain't got nothing to do with whether I'm an African or not. Right, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I don't even think. I think that's just Betty though. I don't think anyone else holds that view. I've not come across anyone else holding that view.
I've come across it, and I ain't gonna call no names here, but even certain people that frequent the park here, like have dropped certain certain times. Yeah, and even if they respect man, innit, but they come at man certain ways, certain times, innit, and you know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Like, and anybody can get that work, innit. So if you're listening and you know that you're on this Betty vibes, yeah, that come true, innit. I don't mind, innit. You can get that work too, innit. But the fact of the matter,
I think it's almost like they're clutching at straws. Maybe sometimes it can be maybe a clash of ideas where they may feel like it's an outside idea coming in, so they pull on the you're not even one of us, kind of thing.
Yeah, no,
So
no.
maybe challenge the idea.
But this is the thing, though, because so Betty don't know man like that, innit? And when she's saying things about how man's playing at being African and them kind of things, there, like you know, because I did see one time when I came, because I've come to the park dressed in some attire recently and them kind of things there, and people be ridiculing and them kind of things there, yeah. And when I say to you, yeah, like when man comes to the park dressed in garms, yeah, it's not because I bought it to come to the park, you know, fam. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been wearing traditional African attire for my entire life. It's like it's normal for man. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not a joke thing for, it's not a costume, innit? Like it's not pantomime business.
Yeah.
Like this is what I wear, like on a daily. Yeah. You know?
It's your lifestyle.
It's not a joke, fam. And that couple times it weren't even like I got a life in it. So if I'm coming from somewhere and I'm dressed in what I'm dressed in and I come to the park, that's how I'm coming. You know what I'm saying? It's you know what I mean? Like man ain't always dressed to come to the park. You get me? Sometimes I'm somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So
I come from a wedding or
right, whatever it is. So why is it man like I'm as an African can't wear African garments?
Exactly. You should be able to. No reason.
You know what I'm saying? What's up with that? You know what I'm saying? I don't like it's a ridiculous statement. The other thing for me though is how is it that the white guy from North Africa gets more ratings than man? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, this is I maybe because you're Somali as well, you might be able to assist me in this vibration here, because like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, fam. Like, to me, yeah, to get vexed, especially because of what that particular individual said to other sisters, yeah, who from Betty's perspective are completely real Africans, innit? Like, how comes I'm getting the heat? You see what I'm saying? Like,
I think because with Betty, obviously, this how she feels about the Caribbeans not being Africans. That it didn't start with you, and it didn't start with that incident. I think this is something that already existed within herself, and maybe it's because she's had a lot of different interactions with different people. You know, she doesn't come to the park a lot, but she does obviously interact. So Betty's I don't want to speak for her, but kind of an anti-Caribbean vibe, I guess, is always been there and present.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah,
definitely. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So I mean, and I'm not even shutting her down. You know, if she wanted to come on the chat right now and have the conversation, she could come on the conversation. And I promise you, I wouldn't treat her like how she treated me. You get me? I promise that family. Cause I don't stay there.
But I was quite disappointed. I think that would have been kind of an interesting conversation. But
it would have. And tell me if I'm incorrect, Samaya, because you heard the whole thing in it. You was there from the beginning. Did I show her an ounce of disrespect? Be honest.
I think Scattered Minds is waiting in the back chat. Sorry, somebody's. I don't know if it's an old chat.
Black Star came back. Scattered is here. Yo, greetings. Scattered, Tahaka, Black Star, you there?
Yo, yeah, I'm here.
If you want to come through again. Yes, Samaya, did I show her an ounce of disrespect?
No. You were very patient and respectful.
Right. Cool. I was making sure, you know, sometimes you can get a full sense of yourself, innit? You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm an African, I'm really not. And then kind of things there. But yes, guys,
Betty's getting spoiled today. She's getting spoiled today. Everyone's trying to chat to her. It's all right. No one's been rude to her, no.
Yeah. Yo, Tahaka.
Yo, I'm here. I'm just here with the fam still. What are you saying?
Yeah, you good?
Yeah, man, I'm all good, man. What's been going on, man? You tried to argue crazy.
Family. And you know the easier. She's guy that say I was running it out for a conversation. She came on COE to challenge me the other day, innit? And she jumped off the chat because Leon tried to tell her not to jump in front of her next brother who was talking.
I see it. Remember, I jumped up for her. I jumped up to let her on, man.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, right. So she took it as a disrespect, innit? So I said to her, all right, I'll come on your chat, innit?
Yeah.
Right, and have the conversation, innit? So now she's gonna say I was running her down for the conversation, innit? Right? What's it called? So I've contacted her yesterday and today, innit? To say, what are you saying? Like we can have this conversation when you're ready, innit? Cause I left a message on her personal yesterday, And I think she deleted that comment as well. And I saw her in Raspber's chat today. So I said, all right, well, let's have, like, when you're ready, innit? Well, go on, innit? So she was on this thing, let's do it today, innit? It was supposed to be on Raspber's thing, but Raspber was on some next conversation with Raj and them, you know what I'm saying? And so then she decided it's going to be on her thing. So we came over to her thing. Man was on her thing for a bit, waiting, silence, waiting. It finally happened. And she threw me off the chat, basically, because she said I wasn't answering her questions. And I kept on interrupting her. The latter is not, well, neither of them are true, to be honest with you. But what she was saying is that,
sorry, can I got my niece and nephew here making up noise? But you're saying that you had a conversation with her. You went onto her panel. You went onto her live stream.
Yeah.
Madman. Carry on.
Why you doing that for? Why you saying that for, man, bro? Why you saying that? Like, you get me? No, because you know what it is, yeah. Like I wanted her to feel comfortable with it. Like, you get me? She could have it on a platform where, you know, she's the boss. You get me? And personally, I think I was very respectful. I think I was very patient. You know what I'm saying? And she was saying some things in it that I didn't understand in it. Yeah. So I'm asking her, but I don't get it, what it is that you're saying. You're saying to me, for example, that people don't differentiate between the African experience and the African Caribbean experience, and slavery and colonialism is not the same thing. And the Jamaican culture dominates the Black experience, so I'm like, okay, but I don't understand what that has to do with me being an African or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, all those issues are different issues to me. Like, you don't want to be identified with certain thing, cool. But what does that have to do with whether I am or am not an African? Yeah. And so she said it a couple of times, and I'm asking her the same question, innit? Like, I don't get it, innit? Yeah, I don't understand. And so because she's got, basically, she don't want to do what man is saying, so she's decided to throw me off the panel. That's what happened.
Of course. I mean, there's only one way that was going to end.
And you know what? I agree with you. To be honest with you, it happened sooner than I expected. But it happened. But yeah, I
did. You on the panel for? If you're longer than 5 minutes, that was where you survived a long time.
Well, what I'm going to say is, Raspber's been on there for like half an hour, and he ain't got dashed off yet.
So on her panel?
Huh?
On her panel?
Yeah. He's on there now. He's been on there for time. So I don't know what special you got that I don't have. Maybe he's more good looking than me, innit? But you know what I'm saying? Like, or maybe she likes his island more, like his profile pic more. I don't know. But yeah, I certainly didn't get that kind of love. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man. Well, I don't even. Yeah, it's a mad one. It's a mad. One second. But Raspber's on his own channel as well, isn't it? He's on his own live, and he's on hers, or is he just?
Yeah, Raspber tends to do that still.
Yeah. Might as well.
Somebody, Primo was saying to me to jump on Raspber's live so I can get back into Betty's live, and I'm saying, if I'm gonna jump on Raspber's live, I'm not gonna do it to get back into Betty's live. If Betty invites me back on, then I might consider it. But I'm not begging no friend around here. You get me?
100.
You know what I'm saying?
She is. The thing is, obviously, when I first came to the pod, like Betty's one of the first people who started seeing me and commenting and all them sort of stuff. Yeah. And so like, she used to comment on my show and stuff, and I was kind of friendly. And then I remember that they were trying to do like a sister circle thing at the park.
Yeah. I remember all that. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and it just was like, mad commotion, her, my sister, and everything. I just like, she became she who must not be named on my channel, boy. We just don't talk about her. Anytime she come on the panel, I just cut out. Like,
was your sister involved in all that fracas? Was Ife involved in all that?
Not even like she was involved in all that, but like Betty obviously was calling her name out and putting her into it because Betty felt away because they'd done a sister circle without her or whatever it was.
All right.
Yeah, it was very immature.
No, I've had my interactions with the sister before. I feel like she's disrespected me more than once. I've never responded. You know what I'm saying? Like even the first interaction that man had with her, it was a random chat. I think it was on COE, or was it on yours? I can't remember.
It might have been.
Yeah, it was one or two. And she went at me, and then it came to the hybrid thing.
Yeah.
Like that hybrid statement there, where she said, "You man are hybrids." On the whole African Caribbean thing, and so I finally think disrespectful. Now at the same time, like I'm not like fanning no flames.
You don't rule her out,
huh?
You're not ruling her out yet.
I'm not. I'm slow to rule people out anyway. But I'm saying that I can't take them things on too tough because there are statements that I've heard that she said publicly to other people that I didn't hear personally myself, but I know about them that are way worse, innit? So I can't really, you know what I'm saying? Like, you get me? Like, it's just me getting it, or you know what I'm saying? So yeah, you know what I mean? You know, so yeah, that's that.
Yeah, no, I hear that, man. I hear that. Yeah, no, I don't think though, innit? Like, the thing is, I think there's something going on there. So I just like, yeah, I'm just not even gonna give any attention to it. I
hear that. You know what it is though as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas she might be the most outspoken about this idea, I know for a fact that she ain't the only one that thinks this thing. Yeah,
100%. I see what you're trying to do in terms of as a conduit to the conversation.
Right. Yeah.
100.
Like, there are certain men that have come at me certain ways differently, innit? Yeah. And they're not as racha and unsophisticated, so to speak. Yeah, in terms of how they bring it forward, innit? Like they're a bit more, they finesse it certain ways, innit?
Yeah.
They ain't trying to finesse that in a certain way, innit? Just something like coming out from the gate, like, yo, your man's a hybrid, innit? What? And that's that, innit? You get me? But
but are those people that come at you those ways there? Are they saying it from a point where they actually understand and know their history, or they're just saying it from this is where it is now?
They would say that they do. They would say that they do, and they would say that me on my African and more specifically Pan-African thing is having a negative impact, yeah, like, or you know what I'm saying, like it's not, it's redefining their thing, innit? Or it's not, you know what I'm saying, it's a different thing to their thing, innit? Like they've got the real.
But what was their thing? What were they coming from? Was it a religion or was it another movement?
You have to ask them, innit? But for example, yeah, like listen to a conversation, yeah, like about, it's come out in some of the conversations that man has had regarding like Marcus Garvey and these kinds of things, innit? And some sideways comments that are made in the context of them debates there, innit? That's what I'm saying, you know.
I hear that, but yeah, those ones I don't fully, because yeah, I think I heard that conversation that you're talking about, yeah, and it was like, why was Marcus Garvey in certain fraternities and stuff like that, okay, yeah. I kind of get that in a way. I kind of get that in a way, but yeah, I only get it to the point where, like, a lot of the times, yeah, we've been tricked into so much things, into like thinking this is right or thinking this is the way forward. With the Marcus Garvey thing, I kind of understand it now, yeah, because you really have to look at man by their works, and what they left behind, like. Regardless of what you saw man join in or what you saw man do, look at the works. Because there's other people that subscribe to loads of things, but then when you look at the works of the people, it's detrimental to black people.
Yeah.
I can't say I've seen I've seen Marcus Garvey do anything that's kind of detrimental to black people.
Yeah.
But can I say something though? Sorry. But you see, this is why I feel like it's two issues, because it's one thing to say, I'm an African, here I am, but it's another thing to come with a complete sort of set of ideas and an ideology, and then kind of say to that other Africans, hop on board, this is the way, this is the salvation. So I think that's where maybe there is a kind of a power struggle there, because you're not just coming in and saying, accept me into the part of the community. It's almost, let me lead the community. Does that make sense? And
I hear what you're saying.
And some people obviously might feel differently to an idea or you know, ideology that may be alien to them, and now they're pulling out the card that, you know.
I what you're saying is this, yeah. At the same time, yeah, and again, this is what it kind of relates to what Black Star is saying with regards to like whether heads know the history or not, in it. All right, because if I'm gonna say, this kind of touches on what we were talking about yesterday, innit, in terms of the whole Pan-African thing, yeah. And so one thing that people have said to me is that Pan-Africanism is a foreign kind of, it's not indigenous to the continent. It didn't develop on the continent, yeah. Like, if one knows the history of the thing, then one wouldn't say that, innit. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are enough Pan-Africanists in the diaspora who are getting their ideas about what Pan-Africanism is, yeah, from studying the works and the actions and the philosophy of people on the continent. That's what I'm saying. And then there are enough on the continent who developed some of the Pan-African ideas from learning about the experience of Africans who are not on the continent. 1 second, big up African Tigress, yeah, my sister all the way over there in Kenya, you don't know. Yeah, if you want to say a word, my sister, feel free. We're discussing Africanness. Basically, I've been scolded by a sister from Nigeria who lives over here, who doesn't believe that I have the right to call myself an African, that I am an African Caribbean or a Caribbean. Yeah, and so basically, me calling myself an African is somehow an insult to her in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, big up African Tigress though. If you don't know African Tigress, subscribe to her channel. You know what I'm saying? She does a lot of work in terms of exposing our people to the continent, Kenya in particular. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so we like our channel still. We subscribe to it. Subscribe to Tahaka Scattered Minds as well, because he does regular lives. I don't think Black Star and Samaya do lives and them kind of things there, so they just contribute to them. You know what I mean?
Not yet.
But yeah,
you're gonna start, Samaya. I like that. Not yet. I like the sound of that. I like that sound. Of that. To hear your voice, inshallah, for sure, sister.
Like,
more sister voices on the panel, and I was disappointed yesterday when you went off. I'm gonna have to talk to my brother Khaled a little bit in the park about live stream conduct and everything. Make sure everyone can get a chance to speak.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm still Khaled about. It's just he gets a bit excited. I think.
He's a passionate brother. He's a passionate brother.
Yeah.
You get me? And you got a nice speaking voice, Samaya, so maybe it was tickling in the wrong way still, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I felt like he took it that I'm kind of, putting it on him, but I really wasn't.
Yeah,
for sure. But so I just want to jump back on to that thing. And I think definitely this conversation should be had, and I can see why you would use the Betty situation as a conduit to it.
Yeah.
But I just feel like, I don't know, man, there needs to be somebody to come forward from that side of the argument who is a little bit more stable as well as articulate, and not even articulate. They could be as raw as Betty is with it, but just a bit more like for example, you're saying you're trying to answer the question and everything, and you're getting like the same, like you're not answering my question, you're getting thrown off the panel. It's like it's not necessarily a level of fairness, because I feel like with her it might come from a place of emotion. Like I feel like there's a lot of emotional feelings that she has towards people from the Caribbean, and it's less logical. Whereas I think there might be somebody you can have this argument with, and they might bring more possibly.
Oh yeah, and I get that. To be honest with you, there is something that, cause there are Africans, like, because me, yeah, I'm kind of like, I'm an African from the Caribbean who is kind of assertive in my Africanness, isn't it? That's what I'm saying, like, so I come out, you get me, and I tell you straight, I'm an African. And if you told me that I'm a Jamaican, I'm gonna tell you that I'm an African from Jamaica, yeah. And I'm gonna be wearing a shoke and kente and these things, and I'm gonna be talking about Pan-Africanism, yeah. And I know, I've sensed, yeah, that the sister is not comfortable with that dynamic in it. You see what I'm saying, like, and not just her in it. So there's something about being like kind of open and flamboyant and charismatic and what's the word? Assertive. That's the word I'm looking for. Assertive, yeah, about this thing that rubs people the wrong way in it. But if I was affirming Africa and I was just an Afrobeats artist, yeah, it wouldn't be a beef, innit?
No, do you know what with that though? Do you know what that with saying that, yeah?
Yeah.
Because I'm Nigerian, yeah?
Yeah.
When I go to Nigeria, they say I'm British.
Yeah.
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 They look at they don't like, they'll be like, you're not a Nigerian. So
right.
I kind of think it's more of it's kind of bigger than just people not looking at you. Like, I feel like maybe if I could speak Yoruba to the level that they can speak it to.
Right.
No, I think you still get you that you were British.
You think so?
Sorry.
I
think you would. And the reason why I say that, the reason I say that is like, because I get the same thing in Jamaica, right?
Yeah.
And I want you to try this next time you go to Nigeria. Because you go to Jamaica and you say, yeah, I'm Jamaican, they're going to tell you, every time, they're going to tell you straight, you're British, you're English, you're this, you're that, right? But if you go back to them saying Jamaicans the next time, and you go to them and you tell them, I'm British, they're gonna look at you and they're gonna say, "No, you're Jamaican." Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of like it's almost like just a thing between like an acknowledgement that there's a different experience. The Jamaicans who grew up in Jamaica have a different experience than Jamaicans who grew up in the UK. But I couldn't go back to my Jamaican family in the UK and start telling them I'm repping Britain now and got a Brit. They're gonna tell me, "What do you mean you're Jamaican? You know what I mean? You're born in the UK." And they'll start telling you, they'll start lecturing you like, "Oh, you UK Jamaicans start thinking that you're British now, but trust me, they're gonna ship you back in the country same way."
That's actually the truth. That's actually the same for my community as well. Over here, they expect you to rep Somalia all the way and not claim Britishness. But when you go back home, I don't even know if you heard the term fish and chips. They started referring to us as like, you know, they're like,
that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. So back home, they won't treat you like a Somali. They'll treat you like a foreigner, a little bit, like, you know, you get a little bit of like a side eye, you know.
I definitely
I
think
wanted
that's
to
a problem.
say, because I think what I heard from Betty is not even the first Nigerian I heard that from, and I'm kind of feeling like, to be honest with you, I feel like maybe it's more should be the East Africans who should have that gripe, or because I feel like the Ghanaians and the Nigerians have been sort of, you know, welcomed with open arms and have been given that, you know, that brotherly love from the Caribbean side. So I don't really get when I hear the likes of Betty and Hector and all these type of Nigerians. I kind of feel like it should be us that are complaining that much. Really, like, you know, you lot should be.
What's this? What kind of business that you're dealing with in the chat, bro? Like, I don't understand. Anyway, I sent you to come on in it. So, wait there. I got to roll out the black carpet for a second. Yeah, I got to roll out the black carpet for my sister all the way from Kenya. I love it. You know, we've got a Somali, we've got a Nigerian, we've got 2 Africans from the diaspora. Now we're going to feature Kenya in the chat. Yeah, what is fam? African Tigress, what are you saying, sis? African Tigress.
I believe that being an African is the mindset. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. But mute your computer though.
I mute my
Yeah, there we go. That's good. Yeah, go on.
No, she muted her.
No, you muted your.
I think she might have muted everything.
Yeah, she muted everything. I can't unmute you.
You can't unmute her? Oh,
no. You can unmute yourself, African Tigress. Just mute the video that you was watching. But yeah, unmute your mic.
Silent. Just tell her put YouTube on silent and yeah. And
unmute your mic. Oh, Chane. You can unmute yourself, Tigress.
I think she'll get there. I think, man.
Hello.
Yes, it's good.
Okay, that's okay now.
Yeah, we can hear you. Good to hear your voice.
Okay, cool. So I'm African Tigress from Kenya. You already know that.
Yes,
so I've had a bit of the conversation. I came to the conversation a bit late, but I feel like our brother from Nigeria who says like when he goes back to Nigeria, some people think he's British. For me, I feel like the Africans in diaspora, they're all Africans. Only that some of them come trying to act and feel better than Africans in the continent, and they kind of feel like we are kind of backward or something. So when you come with that kind of mentality, then definitely people are going to treat you as a stranger because that's the impression that you've given them. Yep,
I agree totally.
I think this. Sorry, I just want to jump in there because I think this thing here is a powerful thing. Because I think sometimes perceptions start warm quicker and more than anything else. The fact that people start looking over there and they start saying, "Oh, he's got weapons. Okay, we need to get weapons." And then them guys over there say, "Oh, they got weapons. All right, cool. We need to start training." Then they see them training like, "Oh, they're coming to invade us, yeah." And all of this is just from perceptions of how they see things. And I think quite often people like people might see and perceive people from the Caribbean. Like, I'm not saying that doesn't happen because I think there's a lot of people here in the UK who do come from Africa or the continent and switch up when they get here. But I think sometimes there's more of a perception, and the perception of they don't see us as being African anymore because we left. so we're going to treat them away. And then they be like, oh, they don't feel like the Africans anymore, so we're going to treat them away. And a simple conversation would probably just sort that whole situation out. But because there's so much feeling involved now, people have started like it's becoming a physical thing now from just a thing in the mind.
Were you born in Nigeria, or were you born in Britain?
Oh no, me. I was
born in Nigeria.
Nigeria. Okay, then if you're born in Nigeria, then you're. However, if you're born in Africa, any country in Africa, even if you move to the UK, US, or wherever, Australia, wherever, you're still an African. And not just the people who are born. I also believe like there are our brothers and sisters who are taken away during the slave trade, and it's a lot of debate because I've met those who are positive about it, like they really embrace Africa and they would love to come back to Africa. And then I've met the kind of people who are bitter because they feel like we sold them. That could have happened. That could have happened, but not everybody was sold. Some people were just tricked and they went. Yeah. So it depends. I think Africa is all how you feel about it. We have people who feel like our brother here, Shakara, feels like he's African. We embrace that. But those ones who are still bitter and feel like, oh, they can't come back or they can't visit because we sold them. It's okay. You can just stay wherever you are. We can't force you to come back or visit Africa or do anything related to Africa or associated with Africans. It's okay. You can stick wherever you are.
Yeah.
But even the term African, it's still a broad.
You cracked up there.
Is that? Pardon? Hello?
Yeah,
hello.
You're cracking up, bro. You're cracking up. Come again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go on.
Hello. Yeah, the term Africa is a broad statement. So, like I said, when I go to Nigeria, they'll say, "Oh, you're not Nigerian, you're British," which is fair enough, yeah. But the whole concept of Nigeria, I don't even agree with. To say that I'm Nigerian, really.
Yeah, that's deep. That's deep. I heard that.
Yeah,
you mean in regards to like the Niger area and the borders being founded by Britain?
So why would I fight for the right to say I'm Nigerian? Like, it doesn't really make sense to me. Like, I've got a tribe.
But do you feel that is your people? Like, do you identify with the people and the culture, regardless of the borders?
Black Star. Let me ask you, for instance.
That goes for Ghana. That goes for most of West Africa, to be honest.
No, but I'm saying, like, when you look at Nigeria now, obviously your peoples are there, innit?
When you say my peoples, who are we talking about? My cousins, my grandmas, they're there. But I have other families in Ghana or Sierra Leone or wherever. So I don't like to say that we're just Nigerian when we're West African, and the culture is pretty. You can find that culture all over West Africa.
Okay.
So, Black Star, do you feel Nigerian or do you feel British?
I feel Yoruba.
How you gonna get that one? I'm wondering how you get that one.
What's your nation? Not Kenya, but what's your so-called people group? Your tribe?
My tribe?
Yeah.
It's called Kisi.
Kisi.
Yeah, like Kisi, Kisi, K-I-S-S. Oh, K-I-S-I, like Kisi.
I'm familiar with it still. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I just wanted to ask that. So in that sense, yeah, because the sister that said this to me, yeah, said that she feels like in the UK, the quote unquote the kind of black Africans from the Caribbean kind of dominate what it means to be black or African, yeah. And so obviously the Kisi is not the largest kind of group in Kenya. When you think of Kenya, you think like Maasai, you think like Kikuyu, you think like Luo to a lesser extent. So do you feel like you know, your identity is not representing what it means to be Kenyan or African?
I feel my identity is totally represented. We might not be like the largest tribe in Kenya, but we are one. In fact, there were studies, and we play a role in making Kenya what it is, because I come from a tribe or a community where the most fertile land in Kenya is. Where people practice a lot of agriculture and all that. And in fact, the latest statistics showed that a lot of the county, like my county, has the highest number of educated people in Kenya. So we play a role in Kenya. Besides, like we have the Minister of Interior Affairs, who's like really very powerful. He comes from my tribe. So yeah.
Okay. Big. All right. I want to invite Bugs Negus into the conversation. Greetings,
brother. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro.
Big up, respect.
I don't know if you heard the passer.
No, I've tried to pick up on it, but I haven't really got to grips with fully what it is. But I know what Betty's narrative usually is. You see what I'm saying? So, give me a quick outlay. Because I heard her saying that she feels that she can't learn from you, or Caribbeans aren't African. Is that? Am I right?
Basically, yeah. So she's trying to. She's basically, she caught me about this a few times, and she just basically threw me off the panel because she's saying that people think that all African is just slavery, and that's only the Caribbeans and the Americans, the Black Americans, and she don't want to be associated with that. And that narrative dominates, you know what I'm saying? And people expect her to be able to speak patois. And people assume that she's Afro-Caribbean. No, and they kind of think, So she don't think that she's going to call me an African-Caribbean and she's an African. And them kind of things there. So I'm trying to figure out, what does any of that have to do with whether I am an African or not? If you're already associated with the Black experience in the Caribbean or the African experience, why should that affect whether I call myself an African or not? So I've asked her that a few times. She thinks I'm playing the game, so she threw me off the panel basically. So now when it's using that as a springboard to have this broader conversation in it, like a more fruitful conversation about African identity and how we relate to each other across the diaspora. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I hear you. And I just want to big up to you and to Captain Scarlett as well, because the way you disseminate information, I really respect it. I think in a couple decades time, or even a decade's time, a lot of people are going to really value the fact that they heard you guys speaking at this stage, because I think you're going to have a real impact on our community, a real positive impact on our community. And that's for the people who are all being constructive in our community, because what I take from Betty is that divisiveness. Yeah, this is where it really comes from, and also some sort of set of hurt feelings. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys know this story about me, but I'm of Ghanaian heritage. Yeah, and I grew up mainly.
There's pause there for a sec. Yeah, pause there. Yeah. I just want to say, right. So we've got 2 Africans from the Caribbean on this. We've got someone from Kenya. We've got someone from Somalia. Yeah, Nigeria, and now we have Ghana inside the place. Yes, so it's almost equal. It's almost equal East Africa, West Africa representation.
Come on,
you know what I mean?
Come on, you get me? and this is what it should be about. Yeah, we should be coming together regardless. Because one thing I don't understand about Betty, and I'll bring this point up, is that when you have people that think of us in a certain way, people that have those racist feelings towards people that look like us, they do not differentiate between us as a people. That's first and foremost. And this is why I don't understand where she's coming from with that sort of speech. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't look at us differently. So we should be really looking at ourselves as one, regardless. Yeah, regardless. Also, I think that where her argument falls down is this whole thing of that she's separating herself from the Caribbean, or saying the Caribbean can't call themselves African, when that actual point is that where there was a point where maybe people from the Caribbean probably could have thought this way, things have done a 180-degree flip against what society would have wanted, against what the system would have wanted, to the point where many people like yourselves have reclaimed that African identity and very proud of it. Yeah, that's a very good big thing, because one of the reasons I believe that she carries on the way she does is because she's not really proud fully of where she's from and what she's about. She loves to say it, but when you're taking on someone else's identity or label, then really you're, somehow giving that power to them, saying, that they're better than you, or you're aspiring to be like them. You get me? So I just feel that she's very divisive with her speech, and really just wants to, I believe it's more attention seeking than anything else, because she's lied on me as well in the past when I've had to ban her out for talking absolute nonsense. Do you know what I mean? And the other thing, and the reason why I mentioned Captain Scarlet, I mentioned you, Sakurai, is that you guys have grown up, and I've said this before to you personally, but you guys have grown up in a world that, when I first met you guys, seemed alien to me, yeah? You got to remember, I grew up as a Christian African, yeah? And what you realize being a Christian African, when you get to an age of realization or knowledge of self, is that you realize how far back the actual continent is in general mindset. Do you see what I'm saying? In general knowledge, yeah? No matter what people want to say, I'm not dissing my people. There are a lot of people who are very knowledgeable in Africa, of course there are. But trust me, the majority of people are still so far back. Put it this way, I will say that colonization, for me, yeah, where they colonized the mind of the African on the continent and obviously in the diaspora, to me had more of a detrimental effect than the physical destruction and violence of slavery.
I hear that.
Yeah. People might not agree with me, but I believe that's the truth. I believe, yes, it was abhorrent what they did with the whips and the butt breaking and how they.
What happened there, Boogs? You duck out. Boogs dropped out, man.
People like Betty. And what she don't realize she does when she's speaking about these sort of issues about her being British first and this first and all that, is that you're making room for people, the right wing, to come in and champion what you're saying. Yeah. You've got to think to yourself, if these people are happy with what I'm saying, I must be doing something wrong. Yeah. Because right now, they've hated us for hundreds of years. Yeah. And only in the last 50 years, they want to kumbaya this thing. And you believe it, because trust me, I don't. It doesn't mean I hate every white person that I come across. Of course not, far from it. I've got very close patrons that are white. Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of people who employ their thought process before they hit those feelings and start saying or doing things which are going to hurt or offend other people, judging by the evidence that we've seen in history.
I mean, obviously, that I'm not saying everything she said, but you do know, I think you were in the park with the black van man. So Betty is not obviously the only one who has
most definitely not. Most definitely not. Samaya, my sister. Sorry, I didn't big you up still. You're right.
Yeah, big up. You're right. So
I agree. But before you came on, Samaya, I was saying that you as an African from Jamaica, and Antigua, the Caribbean, like I don't see these dynamics as different. There are Africans who are from the Caribbean who don't know their history, who would readily deny their Africanness, and who would actually ridicule things African from a place of superiority, because we feel like we're a little bit more removed, so we're superior to the African. And then you get it on the other side, where there are people that are from the continent that don't feel like you from the diaspora have a right to claim your ancestry and your heritage as being African. And it will go as far as to some people that will actually tell you, and I've seen this and I've experienced it, to say that, who will say, we don't want you, we didn't want you, so that's how we sold you into slavery, and these kinds of things like that. You know what I want to do right now, though? I'm sharing my screen at the moment, and I want to play something, This is the woman in the picture is a woman by the name of Affion, She's a Pan-African auntie that I grew up with in the UK.
Oh, no way. I love this woman. You know her personally, Shakara, yeah?
Personal, fam. Man grew up with but she's an international organizer. And I'm gonna get her on a live soon, so we can have some conversations in it, right?
Excellent.
But so stay tuned in it. But yeah, man, we know her personal. We grew up with her. And this is a woman who has shaped a lot of my understanding and experience and knowledge as a Pan-Africanist and what it means to be African. So I'm gonna play this thing and see, and make it run for a little piece and then see what people are saying about it. But yeah, I would encourage people to go and check out the whole chat. the whole speech. Yeah.
Shakira, could you post the link for this video in the chat, please?
I'm going to. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link to the entire speech. Yeah, this is just a snippet from it. Yeah, but I'm going to post a link to the entire speech soon. So stay tuned. Do you know what I forgot to do though? I forgot to share the sound. All right, let me stop sharing for a sec. Cause I want to share the sound.
Big up Ultra. I didn't even know you was in there still.
Hey, he just come still. He just come. Big up Ultra.
I just slid in real quiet. Like.
you do that, don't you?
Yeah.
Sneaking around, yeah.
Just sneaking around. All right, listen. I'm not gonna lie though. When you get a minute, I'd like to give my 2 pence on he who shall not be named. Just saying. Yeah,
I only learned about this who shall not be named business recently. You know, I didn't even know about it before.
Yeah, oh shit, I mentioned names.
I'm not allowed to say his name, so
yeah. Apparently that's the case. Oh, well, I did it done. Hold on. Right now, I'm logging out the process still. Hold on. Stop sharing.
Well, whilst man's doing that, I'm just saying that. Yeah, we gotta be one. And these divisive talks, people don't understand. These divisive talks have come from a place. They've come from a people that want us to feel this way and want us to think this way. Are you ready yet, Shakira?
Yeah, I think I am. But let me make sure the people that can still hear. The people that can still hear the voices though, yeah. Let me just make sure. All right. Can everyone still hear the voices? Click the 9 button if you can still hear the voices. I'm sharing the audio in a particular window as well, so I just want to make sure everybody can still hear the voices. It's gonna take a while because everyone's behind. Hit the 9 button, please, if you can still hear my voice. Because last time I did this, it kind of knocked out the voice for a bit. Let me see. Voice. Oh yeah, it can be heard. It can be heard. All right, cool. All right. Here I know. Hear this.
Ultimately, Africa is the main theater of struggle because that is our homeland. All of us, and when we talk about us Africans, we're not talking about those of us that come from Nigeria, Gambia, Congo. We are talking about Africans in America, Africans in Europe, Africans in South America. People we call Brazilians, people we call African Americans, Black Brits, Africans all over the world. Because globalization, they globalized us before they even developed the concept of economic globalization. We as Africans, we are a global people, and we need to understand that clearly, that we are a global people, and so we must use all of our resources, whether they are human, financial, material, spiritual, mental, cultural, political, economic, all of our resources must be mobilized in the course of the African Revolution. So we need to be very clear about that. Because one of our weaknesses as a people is this thing that people refer to as tribalism. I don't call it, this is what Europeans like. When they meet, say, oh, hello. And say, where are you from? So I'm like, oh, what tribe are you from? I said, what tribe are you from? So they say, oh, I'm not from any tribe. We don't have tribes. I said, really? So you don't have a tribe, but I have one. Because you gave me one. And if we look at our nationalities, our nations, whether they're just the Yoruba, they are much more in population and geography, than a lot of the European countries we have today. But you hear Africans raising up the tribe, and from this tribe, and from that tribe. What nonsense. Who cares where you're from? Nobody. When imperialism comes to attack, it's not because of where you come from, it's because of the resources in your land. The earlier you understand that, the better for you. So in Nigeria, for example, there's an agitation now. We must split up. If we split up, our bourgeoisie, our elite will also split with us and continue to oppress us in our smaller nations. The other weapon that imperialism uses, which is a challenge for a Pan-African renaissance, there is religion. Some of us, you know, with all our radical rhetorics, it's shocking. We are still deeply Christian, deeply Muslim, deeply this, deeply everything but African. You see, the clapping has gone down because there's a lot of invention in the room. And we can't understand as long as you continue to see and to understand God and the Creator through the lenses of another race. You will never know freedom in your life. Never. Religion is a cultural understanding of the spiritual. That's why Indians are Buddhists and these Jews are that.
Hey, Betty, I hope you're listening, sister. Oh, whoa.
Understand, you know, the supernatural. So when we as Africans continue the denigration, you hear Africans say, oh, that's fetish. Like some people, you know, when they see the cowries, oh, that's fetish. Do you know what it is? You know, this is where the problem is here, in the head.
I think Shakara's Books is waiting, yeah? I saw the message.
All right, okay, I'm gonna stop this now still anyway. Yeah, but I just wanted to play that.
Oh, Shakara, I'm not gonna lie to you. Do you know what the funniest thing is, right?
The funniest thing.
I heard everything my sister just said, right? Okay. But I feel like that stuff is the standard.
Standard.
It's to a normal mind. I didn't hear anything. Like,
come on,
like nothing there shocked me. Nothing was there like,
you
know, the penny dropping. None of like everything she just said is supposed to be standard procedure.
And this is why you know that the mindset when people are spitting some nonsense comes from somewhere else. Because I think if you were just to go to your status quo, your standard stuff, this would be normal. From what you can see happening in the world, to how you've suffered and how your forefathers before you suffered, this is common sense. We need to start doing stuff for ourselves. But some people just seem to, I don't know which road they're going down. I don't understand some people's train of thought, to be honest. I really don't.
And but that's the thing, Books. Do you know why you can't understand it? Let me just break it down to you, yeah? Right, Books, personally, you personally, my brother Books, yeah? Are you suicidal right now?
No way, man.
Right. No, this is important. I promise you I'm leading somewhere. Are you suicidal?
No, I don't think I'm suicidal, bro.
No, of course you don't, because you're not. Now, the reason why you can't possibly understand a suicidal person is because your mind ain't there.
Right. Okay, I hear where you're going with this.
Now, right. Okay. So, you see when somebody's got their mind into a particular place, it's hard to get them back.
Yeah. And I think there's other factors surrounding it. Which gives the person some sort of endorphin rush.
I don't want to lean into the realms of slander. I'm trying to stay away from all that far creep. But you see, when your mind is in a particular place or a particular state, it's difficult.
It's difficult. You know, I'm just still surprised at some of the comments in regards to other races being of African heritage. Yeah, that one I still can't wrap my head around.
Do you know what the funny thing is? Someone said to me the other day, Ultra, what are you? Where are you from? I said, well, I'm a British citizen. I'm culturally Caribbean. Ultimately, I'm an African. Now, like, I'm not going to say who, because like I said, I'm not going to get into the realms of slander. But the person told me, no, I'm not African. And I was like, but what? What?
It's crazy. It's
crazy. Especially if we understand, like a lot of the times when you know, when people identify as African, they're affirming this identity, one as a statement of unity, but as a rejection of like colonial identities as well, innit? You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these identities that we have, like people, what Betty don't know is that the identity of African was around before the British created Nigeria.
Come on.
in 1940.
Come on.
That's
what I'm saying. That's exactly it.
Yeah,
even the tribal, even some of the tribes, I know they've got a lot of heritage going, much further back than we can even have been documented. But the fact is, the way in which we describe and label these tribes were done since their contact with Europeans.
Yeah.
So that's how they're sort of documented in that sort of, what I'm trying to say, in that sort of mindset. That's how it's been described as. Yeah, we know it's us, and we know these names that attribute this tribe and this place. But we know that also, since at least 2,000 years, it's not been us in full control of these situations. You see what I'm saying? So the namings and so on and so forth, and to allow yourself to just be taken over, your mind to be taken over by the way in which these people think that don't look like you, biologically are not like you, yeah, will never cease to amaze me. It will never cease to amaze me. The fact that you're saying you'll call your children European before you call them African is crazy to me. Crazy.
But can I just add something though? Like for me, the concept of somebody from the Caribbean describing themselves as African is not a shocking thing to me, or it's not something I immediately reject. When I heard it, I was like, okay, but I just want to say it wasn't just to kind of make the case for the other side, maybe for some Africans who may resist it. I grew up with Caribbean people, and I never in my life met one of them describe themselves as African. And really, even growing up, when I first came, because I was born in Africa, but when I first came here, the people that was mocking the Africans for being Africans was predominantly Caribbean people.
And that's true. It's very true, Samaya. This is not. This is not
like everybody recently woke up and So
no, it's not. I don't think it's a recent
Didn't we
thing.
have this same conversation a few weeks back?
Yeah, you remember? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it's been hashed out because I can remember that time. I definitely grew up during that change. I grew up through the time when I was called an African boo-boo, ABC, all this business. But I tell you what, the reason why it didn't affect me as much, and this is to me personally, is that I had a strong family behind me. I had lots of uncles, lots of aunties who I used to speak to and meet with, and they were all first generation. They were the ones that actually came over. So they had their heritage. They knew about where they were from. So I had that. So I was never ashamed.
I speak for myself. It didn't affect me because I actually because I had a strong sense of like knowing who I was and knowing where I came from. And where I came from was a beautiful place. So the image that these people had in their mind wasn't what I knew. So that's why it didn't. But
that's right.
But Samaya, this is the point I'm trying to make here, because in the sense of the fact that when you come up against people from the Caribbean that affirm Africanness, you're talking to people, some of them would have been the same people that were ridiculing and dissing Africa.
Facts.
As children. You go?
Yeah.
Facts. They definitely were. That's what I remember. But then I got those same people I've spoken to. Now when we've got to this age, look at me in my eye, and I look and see in their eye, and they feel, I can see the hurt. Because they know I remember them things, but I never mention it or bring it up or whatever. But they know. And deep down, it's like they're even happy that man's still like, yeah, but we talking about we're brothers. You know what I mean? That was then. Do you know what I mean? I'm telling you, I had physical altercation.
One thing I will say, Bugs, is that Rastas have always affirmed Africa for as long as I can remember.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
a lot of them I met when I was younger.
What
they
I found, it was like the second generation that came over, right, who started this divide between Caribbeans and Africans. But
that's actually like one of my friends, her mum was a Rasta, and she loved everything sort of African. I remember meeting her. Definitely. I think I met from the experience I had with Rastas. They had a lot of passion and love for the Africa.
Definitely. And I want to add to what Ultra said. This is why Ultra, our conversation was really powerful for me, because it really did tie into my youth growing up. And you said it there. A lot of the Rastas saw themselves as African. And when I spoke to the older ones, they used to always tell me about their Africanness. And even so much so, they used to say, what, Ghana? Yeah, we are family. We got taken from you. They knew. But when I was a child, I'm talking when I was 8, 9 years old. I don't know if you want to do the maths. That's like 30 years ago, yeah? So do the math and you know how old I am. But what I'm saying is, then the next generation, so their children maybe, or the people younger, they're the ones that I used to get the insults from when I was growing up. They were the ones now. So think about this then. That means they came from a home, Yeah, many of them came from, not all, but many came from home where they had the knowledge. They knew what the deal was. They knew about slavery. They knew about being taken from a place somewhere on the west coast. They knew west coast of Africa. They knew they were from somewhere around this region or someone from other places. But then for some reason, something very strange happened where those same people, those children, those descendants, the ones I went to school with, hated Africa. Why is that?
Definitely.
Why is that?
And now you ask the key question, why is that? Yeah.
Yes.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
Come on.
And I'm saying, like, there's two things there. It's colonial mentality. Fela Kuti said it, fam. It's colonial mentality. We were colonized, yeah, to hate everything African. Yeah.
Facts.
And the reality is that the pride in Africa comes about in a specific circumstance, yeah, where people are rejecting the colonial narrative. We're saying, actually, nah, Africa is not something to be ashamed of. It's something to be proud of. Furthermore, I'm an African. Yeah.
Yeah, you get it. Take it a step further, yeah.
And I'm saying, like, think about it now, yeah. So imagine, like, if Africans were getting it at school, yeah. Imagine what it was like for Africans in families of people from the Caribbean, yeah, who affirm Africa.
Yeah. Oh, didn't think of that still. That's another angle to this. Yeah, it's another angle to this, isn't it? Right. They must have really got some ridicule in their own home, in the four walls of their own home. No doubt about that.
Right. When I say big up witness, big up national racialism. Sister African Tigress, I know you've been quiet. I do want to let you back in.
Yeah. Yeah. So my point is a lot of people, a lot of Africans are maybe born and raised abroad, which could be the UK or the US. They like to identify with, they would say like they're British or what. I think it's because of the favors probably that they would get when traveling, because for instance, when you go to a certain country and you present your passport as a Kenyan or as a Nigerian, there's a different way you'll be treated compared to someone who presents their passport and say they're British.
Yes.
Yeah, 100. That's colonialism though there still. That's 100%.
And I've seen that.
Yeah. I think that's something that a lot of people have in their mind. So that's why a lot of people, as somebody raised the point of talking about being British, Caribbean, then African, why can't you say straight ahead you are African? I feel for us Africans, we have challenges traveling, especially for people who love traveling. I think if you are born in the Caribbean, you are born maybe in the US, in the UK, and you just say like, oh, I'm African, and you present your passport, I think if more people did that, it would make it easier. A lot of people, when they think about Africa, they think about what the Western media has portrayed about Africa. I know of a lot of Black people in the US, a lot of Black people in Britain who feel like, who are actually afraid of visiting Africa. And I'm like, wait, like I visited the US and I'm asking them like, why are you afraid of visiting Africa or any country in Africa? And then they're like, oh, I don't know, nobody there and stuff like that. But we Africans, we can visit. For instance, I visited the US and all you need is just getting the visa, getting the ticket and just getting to the US, getting a hotel. You don't need to know nobody there. So why do people feel, why do Africans born in different continents in the world, why do they feel so afraid to visit any country in Africa?
Hey, let me just add, African Tigress, that's excellently put, because there is a weird disparity when it comes to that, how they can see Africans from the continent coming to their places, whether it be in the UK or the US, but they can't see themselves going over there. And what their impression of the continent is, when you speak to them, you realize it's a very warped one. It's a very, very warped one. When I've been at work recently and I work with a lot of Eastern Europeans on a construction site, and a lot of these guys obviously are oblivious to anything. In fact, these guys are so hardcore racist. You know the deal. Everyone saw the Bulgaria game or heard the news about the Bulgaria game the other day, and when you speak of Africa, they automatically think of poverty. They think of, let alone our own people or people from the Caribbean, what they think. This is Europeans, they think poverty, they think, aid, they think the Red Cross, they think all that. So I got a couple of videos that I got on my YouTube where it shows Africa in its proper light, where it shows Congo, shows Ghana, shows South Africa as the advanced cities that they are. And remember, this is still a European construct. We're still looking at it through the eyes of a European. When we're saying this is wonderful, we're still looking at it as European wonderful. You get what I'm saying? When we think wonderful, we're thinking of a mansion that looks European. We're not thinking of an eco house that is one with nature, because that's what I'm looking to. But still, because these minds are so set back a certain way, I still say, well, look at this skyscraper, look at this building. You see what I'm saying? And I'm showing them pictures and they're shocked, they're surprised. I said, mate, my cousins, when I went home to Ghana, a couple of years back, and I tell you, these guys are living 10 times better than I am here in the UK. Yeah, if you want to judge it by the size of the TV in the yard, mine's a 40-something or 32. I'm even big myself. Mine's a 32-something inch in my yard. Yeah, that man have got 50-something inches. Yeah, with different rooms to sit in and bean bags to sit on. And half the time they're not even in front of that TV because they're sitting outside on the front on the stoop. Everyone chilling, relaxing, eating food. They live a different life. And the reality is, we need to start letting our youth know that these tropical islands that they show on our holidays in Europe and all that, we've already got this where we're from. We've got this, and you got to understand they're definitely trying to stop us from going back there, because on this final point I want to make, this is why I know there's a conceited plan to a lot of this. We used to travel to Ghana. It was a point where I was going to Ghana quite regularly because I was looking at some land and doing some business and stuff. So we used to travel out there, and the flights were actually quite cheap. And it wasn't too bad when you went off season, 300-400 quid. Boom. All of a sudden, they started jumping up to about £800. I'm thinking, what's going on? I mean, literally double. So I'm like, hold on, man. But I'm still going. I'm thinking, boy, I don't care. Then I think it was British Airways or Virgin. I can't remember what it used to go. I think British Airways used to go and then they stopped going. Then Virgin started going. Now, Virgin prices went even higher. And they were going up to into the thousands. Then this is a bargain sort of hunting thing. If I was buying it normally, it'd probably still be 1,300-400, but it was about £1,000. But it was worth. I still told myself it was worth it because the flight was so nice and it was a direct flight and it was quite a good class. You could feel like it was first class. But then all of a sudden, the prices have gone absolutely completely through the roof. Where now anyone who's not really got a decent sort of income or expendable sort of finances will definitely not be able to travel there. They stopped certain flights, so now there's very few flights going there. And you got to ask yourself, why do they do this? Why does this keep happening? Don't get it twisted though. It's still overcome because my brothers are from Nigeria. They're flying to and fro there regardless. They don't give a damn. They're going there all the time and doing business. But we've got to understand that there's a conceited effort to keep people who have rights to the land that is the landmass that is Africa. They're stopping the people who are heritage is from there from actually wanting to go back there, as well as actually physically getting back there. But we're still fighting them every step.
You know what
the
the funny thing is? It's you alluded to the reason why in your opening gambit. To get home, we can't afford it.
Yes, yeah.
And and how many times have you flown to Africa or the Caribbean and the plane is full of Chinese, man?
Oh, that's the one I've done, man. Trust me.
And that's what I'm saying. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm guilty of it myself, right? Because I've got a family of 5. If I want to go on a holiday and I want hot weather and I don't want to break the bank,
you gotta
I'm going to Europe.
You gotta Spain,
I'm going to Europe. Like, imagine to get a family of 5 to fucking the motherland. It's a madness, and it's different if you got property and family. It's different. It's different.
So this is what
you understand what I'm saying.
Go Tigers.
Okay, so this is what I think. There is a lot of opportunity and a lot of resources. A lot of even I feel like Africa is the best place to be. I could be biased as an African, but being an African, having grown up here, I have friends all over, like all continents in the world. But I'm so lucky, and I just feel like I'm so lucky being born here and raised here, because the way I see things probably is different. The problem with, I think the challenge or the major challenge with Africa is the fact that a lot of people have been brainwashed to think that the West is better than what we are. Mm-hmm. There's no place in this world. There's no place in this world where you can stay. I can be jobless for 6 months and I won't go homeless. Can you be jobless for 6 months and not go homeless?
That is an excellent question. That is an Excellent question.
Yeah, that's the difference.
I can be jobless for 6 months. For instance, I have okay. I can say okay. In the city, I have rented a house, but if I go to another place where my parents staying, I have a house there. And apart from that, we have a house in the village whereby if things come to like really things become so bad, if I go to the village, I can stay there. We have a farm. And we don't need to cook. We don't need to buy food because we're getting everything from the farm. So like you have somewhere where you can take yourself, or you can go and stay when you don't have a job until you get yourself on your feet. But there's nowhere else in the world you can enjoy that. If not
nowhere. And that's I tell you, what I gotta say is my first trip to Ghana that I can remember when I was 30 years old, about 30, and I took the family there. When I tell you, I'd been to Ghana, don't get me wrong, my mum and dad had taken me back to Ghana as a child. But when I first went back there as an adult, let me tell you something, I was moved to the core of my soul. It was moving just to walk through the high street and not have to. You remember, I work all over England, so I was working all over the place. And I go to cities where when I see another black person, I can just see the happiness in their face when they see another black person. Yeah, and they smile and want to say hello and all this business. I go to Ghana and walk in the streets, and people don't even notice me. They don't notice me. I'm just part of the society. You get me? The only time they even realize where I'm from is when I open my mouth to speak. Other than that, I'm just normal. I'm just one of them. You get me? And the love received. Oh.
Yeah, that's why I say
yes, I'm an Ashanti, yes.
As Africans, I think what we majorly need to invest we need to invest in our education. Because a lot of people believe that the Western education is better than ours. I think there's a lot that needs to be done about our curriculum. Because
they've done very well with that.
For instance, Kenya was colonized by the British. So I think we got everything from the British people. And that's why like in subjects like Christian religious education is a compulsory subject in Kenya, which we start learning right from when we are in nursery schools. You could call them kindergartens, but we call them nursery schools.
Mambo, sister.
So and at that time, we learn Jesus is white, angels are white, and black people like Satan is presented as black. So I think because I remember as a child when we had to have like acting like Bible stories and stuff like that. And then the dark-skinned children act as the devil or the demons, and the light-skinned children, they act as the angels. So I think there's what we need to do mostly as Africans. I feel like there's a lot that you can do. We have like all the resources, all the minerals and everything else. We just need to reform our education system, and we really need to believe in ourselves. We need to believe in ourselves in the sense that...
funny, sister? I believe, I'm not going to lie to you. This is part of the reason I don't fuck with none of them Abrahamic faiths, right? Because in my subjective opinion, none of them are inherently African. By definition, I don't believe they are, and they ain't helping us. I'm not saying a religion can't make you a better person and all them things.
Of course,
But you see when you're holding up this white don as the savior of the universe, and you're the blackest, most tar-colored thing, the complete opposite. How are you supposed to attain that kind of... it's madness.
But this is where the knowledge comes in. This is where we have to realize, as the sister just mentioned, about upping our knowledge levels and adapting our curriculum to suit our Africanness. Because what they have done has been an excellent game of chess, an excellent mind game. Because you got to understand what they've done. When you see a group of black people holding up a white Mary or a Jesus figure, that you got to understand that these Abrahamic faiths are actually African. They are taken from us and have been used and adapted to directly discredit or hold us back. This is a fact. See,
they originate, but what I mean is the Abrahamic faiths that they're presenting to us. None of the actual origins is being told, well, boy, listen, Africans, it's actually yours, but it was like reinterpreted, and we're selling it.
They will never say that
with fuckery. It's madness.
African tigress.
No one can tell me is an African descendant that I have to wait for a white Jewish dog.
Yeah, come on, exactly. African tigress. I just want to know as well, you growing up at home in Kenya, how much of the African original spirituality practices were you privy to? Did you see growing up, or was it purely the Abrahamic faith that you saw and that people practice?
To be honest, a lot that is being practiced is just Christianity and the Bible and the Islamic, which is certain, like a small percentage of the population. That's basically what we took. And if you practiced any other thing, well, I grew up as a Christian because before, that's what you are introduced to. It only takes you to maybe travel, have experience, and interact with other people to just realize how fucked up everything is. So if you talk about any other thing, even at this point, when I talk about like really not relating to the white Jesus and stuff like that, a lot of people don't understand it. They ask me, why did you grow up? Like, why are you saying that? Because a lot of people are raised, like I said, Christian religious education or Islam is compulsory, but of course Christian is like the majority. I think like 90% of the population. It's something that we study like since we are kids. It's something that we are introduced. Even like your parents when you're young, they're taking you to church, you see all those Bible stories. But as a kid, you're not able to relate that even the images you're seeing don't reflect, not even your complexion. They don't even look like you. But as a kid, you don't really realize that. But it's always Christianity, and as Christianity is, you can't question anything. So a lot of people don't question that. But from my social channels and all that, I've seen a lot of people like really questioning about that and like really dismissing the belief of the white Jesus and all that. And I'm quite impressed. I like the young people who are growing up. They're like, why are we worshiping? Like every race is worshiping a God that looks like them. But we are not worshiping a God that looks like us. Indians have their God, white people, Asians, and all that. But what about us?
Yeah, and that's what I'm just really interested to hear, and it's always definitely that sort of answer that we hear, and Shakara, this is where your knowledge and Scattered might want to jump in. So I just want to know as well, how much do we feel that these Abrahamic faith, and it's a very broad question, how much do we feel they've impacted the situation of the African across the world, like people with the mindset, like the name we won't mention, how much does religion have that at its door, as the blame for us,
Is she religious? I'm not religious,
Yeah, I'm not sure she is, but she just came to be a Catholic, I think. But let me jump in there quickly in defense of the Abrahamics. And
I'm not banning them out, by the way. I'm not banning them out, by the way. You know me.
I'm joking. Let me just quickly say, shout out to the brother Abraham. One second, wait. Shout out to the Egyptian. One second, wait. Shout out to the Hemetian brother Abraham.
Oh shit.
Ethiopia.
Oh shit.
And his Egyptian handmaiden. Shout out to him.
Oh boy.
Shout out to him. But but in regards to your question, I think I want to take it into a slightly different thing, because I think the news this morning, they reported that the best place to go on holiday apparently, or the best place for tourism and so on and so forth, is the Kingdom of Bhutan. I didn't know much about the Kingdom of Bhutan, so I googled it and looked it up. And the Kingdom of Bhutan is like this Buddhist kingdom that's never been colonized, and it's like because it's very, very distinct Buddhist culture because of its history. And it did make me think about the recent conversation, especially what Shakara was having with Ali Darwa in regards to Islam and Africa and African traditional spiritual, and what it would look like if there was an African spiritual belief that did manage to last, to survive colonialism and still exist today with those same sort of old religious practices, what that would look like. But I was just more thinking, I suppose, on that. In regards to the religious mindset, like Shakara said, the person in question, I think they claim to be Catholic, but I'm not sure how religious they actually are. But I do think that I think even Danjuma touched on it in the park recently in regards to the effect of Abrahamic religions within Africa and how they have affected Africa, and he questioned how can Africans have Abrahamic religions without it affecting their Africanity, etc., etc. And I think it's possible, and I think Ziria on my channel yesterday, and I want to get that convo re-going again with Shakara and Ziria. They had a little conversation in regards to I always get this word wrong, but the secularism. There you go. Say again.
Sectarianism.
No, not the sectarianism. The synchronicity between.
Syncretism.
The syncretism between Islam and a lot of traditional African cultural practices and in many different parts of Africa and West Africa in particular to the, you know, let's call them the African empires of Songhai and Mali, as opposed to Islamic empires of Songhai and Mali. And so I think I don't think it necessarily always has a negative effect. However, I don't know. I think the other day I actually didn't get to finish the debate with Shakara and Ali Dawa, but I think you guys did touch on Usman Danfolio, and so we get to see some effects of religion, and maybe that might be worth a discussion if Shakara want to go into that one.
Yeah, no, I don't want to dive into it today. You know, what I will say though on the issue of identity, I do think that there's a certain we can't divorce colonialism from we can't take the religious aspect out of colonialism.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I will say. So I don't say I would not say that it's absolute that ones who affirm an Abrahamic faith, generally speaking, you know, tend to deny or, you know what I'm saying, kind of relinquish their Africanness or their African identity, because that will be ahistorical. What I will say is that there are strong dynamics of that taking place. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And we have to relate it to the religious thing to some degree. By the way, so I can just say, yeah, who on the Ultra, do you host chats in it?
No.
Cool. So for everyone that hosts chats in it, because I know African Tigress does, she runs a show. Sorry, African Tigress, how many African countries have you been to?
About 10.
Name them.
I've been to Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Congo, Ethiopia, Egypt. I haven't been to the West. With Malawi,
okay.
South Africa.
All right, beautiful. And the evidence of this is on your channel, yeah?
I used to travel before I started my YouTube channel. On my YouTube channel, I only have Egypt, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania. I think so. Only 5 on my channel.
Only.
Yeah, I was saying that's enough to get started. Yeah. So that's what African Tigress does. African Tigress. Yeah, if you want to know Wagwan in different countries on the continent. Yeah, and Shattered Minds always is hosting the Pan-African culture. I'm sorry, Pan-African. And what is it? We're coming. I got scattered.
Pan-African politics and pop culture podcast.
Pan-African politics and pop culture. Yeah. So subscribe to them channels right there, family. And make sure that you know you stay in tune with the thing. And also, if you're here for the first time, you can subscribe to my thing as well. So I was gonna say that there are dynamics of that in it. So you do find dynamics, and not just on the continent, but in the diaspora of people that are very Christianized and colonized. Oh no. It's trouble. It's trouble in the building. Oh wait, somebody's got to drop out. It looks like.
Do you know what, Scattered? Shakira, my brother, listen, I've just touching down.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sacrifice my space. I'm not gonna lie.
All right.
I just want to say Mambo to the African Tigress, because my mother-in-law she's been hitting me with the Kiswahili. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
The easiest language to learn in the world. It's the easiest language to learn in the world.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm learning how to count. I'm learning Chakula, Maziwa.
Yeah, you did good.
Listen, yeah. I'm getting them. But listen, I'm gonna wait. Wait. Nakupenda.
Nakupenda.
Yeah, Listen. No, listen. I'm gonna sacrifice my spot and then I'm gonna listen in from the the YouTube. Yeah. All right, family. Peace and love.
That's coming true. All right. It's problems now, family. It's problems at the moment. Yeah, it's problems. Greetings, yeah, to the black intellectual Muslim in his house. Greetings.
Peace and love to the panel, family. It's not problems, brother. It's not problems.
Yeah. All right, cool. Yes,
so,
sir.
Shaka, wait. I
was going to finish this point, yeah. So, in the sense of the fact that you have Africa all around the world, yeah, in answer to what was being asked a minute ago. So, for example, like coming from an African from the Caribbean experience, yeah, oftentimes religion came hand in hand with like an allegiance to the British Empire. You know what I'm saying? Like people were Christian, and like so that you know, people in my great grandmother's generation used to have the picture of the white Jesus on the wall next to the picture of King George. Yeah, this was it was a related dynamic. You know what I'm saying, right? And then at the same time, there is a dynamic of people who are indigenously African, but because but when I kind of, you know, assume some kind of allegiance to or identification with an Arabic identity, yeah, because they're Muslim. You know what I'm saying? So that happens as well. Now, again, I don't say that these are universal or all-encompassing dynamic, but that dynamic does exist, is all I'm saying. By the way, M.A. Brown's also on the panel. Greetings, my brother. I didn't even greet you when you came in. Apologies, my bro. You there, bro?
Yeah. Well, go on, family.
Blessings. National racism, I see you. I can't add you in right now, but stay there. I will get you in at some point, yeah. Streamyard only does 6 people on at one time.
Yeah, no, I'm cool. Is there someone waiting?
Yeah.
Yeah, let them jump on still. I've said my piece. I want to just pick up everyone on the panel and say it's very constructive, these conversations, and I like that, the fact that we can build, and some people might call these echo chambers, but I think we need to start thinking of people with the same mindset so we can start moving in a uniform direction, you get me? So big up everybody here, and big up that we're getting this sort of information out and the media created, you get me?
Give thanks, bro. Give
thanks.
Big
up. Enough love to everyone. Peace, yeah.
I've been on for over 2 hours as well, so I need to be looking at some point. Few people just came on, so I'm gonna stretch it for a little piece still. So yeah.
Nah, stretch it, Shaka, brother. I beg you. I'm listening in still.
I dropped tomorrow, and I got work to do as well, so I don't want to be irresponsible.
At least half hour. You can spare that, man. Give us that.
We'll give it half hour.
Yeah. Big up. All right, peace, fam.
Big up. All right. Big up to national racialism, Mr. IC3 in the house.
Big up to you all.
Big up. I know like the fact that the panel got very diasporic very quickly just then. You know, I'm not feeling them vibes here. You get me? I was enjoying my whole African diaspora community kind of conversation, but it's all good. We're all African. We're all African. Right, one second. I'm gonna start with MA because MA been there for a minute and ain't spoken yet. So let me go there.
You know what? I just came through. I just jumped straight on when I saw the link. I'm a little behind.
Yeah.
So if you can fill me in real quick, I'll make a couple comments on it.
Oh, now we're just discussing. I don't wanna go over what kind of prompted the conversation that we're having. But I basically cut a long story short. I had a chance back and forth, let's say, with Sister Betty. Because she takes offense to me affirming myself as an African, and apparently not really affirming the Caribbean thing enough. Yeah. So I shouldn't say I'm an African. Basically, I'm an African Caribbean, and that's basically what it is. And so I was on the panel for a bit, and then I got thrown off apparently for being disrespectful. Okay. Yeah. Which one you listen to? If and when you listen to, you know that's a nonsense. You know what I'm saying? You know, I mean, I've got heated. I wasn't even heated on a panel, but I've got heated on a panel before and not disrespecting people. So yeah. But yeah, so I just thought, you know what? Let me drop a live as well and have a little debrief and touch on this issue. You know what I'm saying? Because basically, we're talking about the dynamic of Africans denying their Africanness and Africans denying the Africanness of other Africans.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, we keep seeing that, innit? Like,
yeah.
You know, it's a it raises its ugly head at the park. Even though I see it quite often.
Yeah.
It's it's a difficult one, because like what you just said. Yeah, you just said Betty said to you how you should affirm that you're Jamaican African.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously Jamaica being the product of colonization, isn't it?
Right.
Just without it. Same way Nigeria is the product of colonization.
Right.
Right. So I don't know. Maybe if people are allowed to call themselves Nigerian, but you don't not call yourself Jamaican though.
This is what I'm trying to say. Like, she's saying that I deny that my lineage is from the Caribbean, and I'm saying that's definitely been the case. Though everybody that's heard me speak will tell you that I say I'm an African from the Caribbean. My mother's side is Antigua.
Fully.
It happens all the time. But if you ask me what is your identity, what are you, I'm gonna tell you African straight. Yeah, that's what I am. That's my identity. Yeah. Now, if you want to tell me where my family, with the journey of my family, I will tell you where they came from, where they journeyed to, where they come out from. That's what I'm saying. But I am an African. That's it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, fundamentally, if I tell you, for me personally, African is the most important thing. Anything else secondary.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
Right? Anything else secondary. Yeah. And it's not to say it's not important, because the African experience in Jamaica, the African experience in Canada, the African experience in America, the African experience in Antigua, African experience in St. Lucia and Dominica, the African experience in Nigeria, Congo, South Africa, Kenya, the African experience in Somalia, Ethiopia, Kemet, it's all important. Yeah. and there are specific things with regards to those locations that we all should learn and should all be cognizant of. But fundamentally, right, man's an African. Yeah. And that's what I affirm. And I think, I'm going to come back, but say what you're going to say and I'll come back. I'll come back after.
Now, so what are the various reasons that we see people from the continent who are born on the continent, or our parents were born on the continent? What are the different reasons that we see people challenging the Africanity of people from the Caribbean, for example?
Right. Now, I'm going to say this here. I think when it comes most is not just with the idea that man is African, but that man is Pan-African.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is, and I think this might relate to something that Samaya was saying earlier as well, in terms of the idea that, there are ideas that come along with this thing, and this idea of being African is the savior of the rest of Africa, and why don't you will join us here? Because there's a there's an unpolitical, a depoliticized African identity that has more to do with the fact that of where you're born and what food you eat, and maybe what your name is and what garments you wear, right? That is kind of non-threatening in the sense of the fact that it's not challenging the status quo. It's not challenging the order of the day, yeah? But then when you say I'm a Pan-Africanist and you affirm African identity as a Pan-Africanist, and you're affirming it from reading or studying or living according to or standing on the shoulders of people like Kwame Nkrumah and Julius Nyerere, and Dedan Kimati, and Patrice Lumumba and Winnie Mandela, and you're putting that and even many people are learning about people like Siad Barre from Somalia, and although he's controversial in Somalia, but he has some respect here in some Pan-African circles. What's it called? When you're coming from that perspective, and then you add Marcus Garvey and Maurice Bishop and Malcolm X, from a diaspora perspective to that, then there are people that have a problem with that, and they feel like you're trying to define Africa for them. You know what I'm saying? That's what I've gotten from certain man, and this is not necessarily just the sister in question now. I've got it in directly and indirectly from certain next man, and I think you know what I'm talking about when I say that.
Fully. There was a guy the other day that I was watching one of the content's videos, one of the live streams, sorry, and there was I think it was you having a conversation with a couple people, and one, I don't know if he was a Somali brother, a bit older, and he stepped in and he said,
don't you have the right to speak for Africans,
and I don't know, like I feel like like within the experience of the diaspora, yeah, I feel like the value the value in that experience, both the negative and positive experiences of diaspora, yeah. I feel like there's and obviously definitely feel like there's some things that we've learned that we can pass on to warn brothers and sisters on the continent about, and that a lot of brothers and sisters are not privy to.
Yeah.
And I also feel like there's a bit of a conservative attitude that a lot of these brothers and sisters are carrying, Betty included, that automatically kind of disregards the things that we are going to say anyway because it's too disruptive.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of at the root of a lot of what these people are saying and the value that they see in maintaining a distance from the man them, innit?
Yeah.
Is that there's a status quo that already exists. Like you might hear Maku say certain things. Maku appears to be like ready for reform.
It's calling names.
You want? Yeah. Whatever, innit? Maku, innit?
He's calling names out here, YGs.
Maku can seem like someone that likes reform and revolution or whatever, but actually he's quite conservative when it comes to his view of Nigeria and diaspora. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of complexities going on at the same time, and I think people are not always revealing their politics fully when they say Chakara is not an African or don't speak for Africa or whatever. Some people are more brave, but you know, I've heard Betty say all different kind of stuff, and Betty's a conservative as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. No, I hear you. All right, I'm gonna pass it around to everybody that's new on the panel right now. So, in order of appearance, the Black intellectual Shia, who I suspect is gonna change the nature of the conversation right now. You know, I got a hunch. Yeah, but we'll see it. Let's see if I'm correct. Go on, bro.
You're definitely not correct, brother. And I've been trying to get on here for time. I thought it was the Google Hangout, so I couldn't get on this thing from the beginning of the show. So I didn't come on for the question of Abrahamic faiths, but I'll just answer that quick in relation to 95% of the thing which basically assisted in us losing our identity was what they call the Abrahamic faiths. 95% was the thing that allowed us to let go of all we had because it turned us against ourselves. You understand? Right. So whatever they taught us in regards to that was to make us hate ourselves and what we naturally had then before they got it. But the thing what I wanted to speak to you about on Sunday, right, before we even got there, the question I wanted to or the subject matter is about this identity of African, considering the fact that before the European put this label on it, right, there was a framework of mind that somebody comes to a landmass with a people, with natural resources, and they would like to chop it up in a certain way, and then put labels on it according to their strategies, according to their benefit, then label it, then we now identify ourselves according to that label. This is the issue that I have with that term and us trying to hold on to it because of that. Do you understand? So in other words, I could call it the Holy Land and identify with that being my mother Holy Land. But then when it comes to the term African and Africa, I'm like, this is from them and within their psyche. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Their paradigm.
Bro, here's where I'm at with that debate, because I get it. I'm not even entirely sure I agree with it because I don't think it's conclusive that that the term Africa comes from the European. Not
even if they, let's say, use a word that we know was specifically, let's say they use any word that we know was specifically part of our language, right? A spoken language, not the ancient dead language, a spoken language that they use for the whole continent. My point is the way in which we now see the continent, which we never before, the way we now see countries carved up and certain borders made, the whole lot of what we're looking at is through their glasses, their mindset, their eyes. Do you understand? That's my point.
I would say that more applies because, for example, when they came in the Berlin conference, and carved up the thing, they weren't trying to develop a unified African identity. Just what I'm saying, like the idea that these people are African was not in their consciousness, right? Just what I'm saying, like that wasn't the aim. You get me?
That's my point. I'm saying so we now are we're rooting ourselves in what their thing, which was to carve us up, and so I'm saying what I'm suggesting is
I'm saying though that the term African doesn't for me, put it this way, when I look at because the term Africa comes about before the identity African. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, we could debate the origin of the word and how it comes into usage, and there is good argument for the idea that the term Africa comes into use with the Romans. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So they take a word from an African language, they appropriate it, Romanize it, and then that becomes the name for the entire continent. Yeah, and the first time we see it in written language is with the Romans. I'm not going to argue that. I don't think there's any evidence to suggest otherwise. The only debate is where the word comes from. Yeah, and the etymology of the word, whether it's a European word or an appropriation of an indigenous African word from an African language. Personally, yeah, I'm less concerned about the word itself, the phonetics, yeah, right? Than I with the intention behind it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying that
that's the only thing I'm saying, bro. That's literally I'm not concerned about the word itself. I'm saying when somebody comes, bro, imagine you style your house a certain way, yeah? Whatever you called your house before, right? You put, let's say you've got your TV, your living room, and then they put your living room upstairs, and you had a specific room for whatever thing, and they start rearranging your thing, and it's still called the same name. I'm saying the framework, when you come back in your house under that same name, it's a different thing because it's someone else's mentality. You understand?
But this is my point, though. I'm saying that within that identity, the people that affirm the identity of African, yeah, had a decolonial agenda. You know what I'm saying? So it was about redefining who we think we are and who we actually are. You know what I'm saying? And also jigging the feng shui, so to speak, of the house, innit? So that's why a lot of Pan-Africanists believe in getting rid of the colonial borders, because we understand that this is not our thing. You know what I'm saying? But it might be that the term African is insufficient or not conducive to, you know, we might get to a point where we can just consider it completely colonial in general. Does that disqualify what people mean when they say African?
Well, I'm getting down. Sorry, I'm getting down to the effects on the psyche, and then at some point I want to get onto the second generation here. So the young youths that are born from us, that are born here, because obviously a lot of our parents that came over were telling when they said I'm going back home for 6 weeks. When you're a youth hearing that, then your home is the Caribbean, innit? Do you get me? And you always hear them talking about, well, I ain't gonna die here and all of that stuff, and then they end up dying here and bury here. I ain't burying here, but they're buried. Do you see what I'm saying? So there are youths that are born here. When they're hearing them terms, they ain't got the Caribbean connection that we may have, even if they eating the food and whatever else. A lot of them.
I agree that's the argument of, and to be honest with you, like, okay, that's the argument of how we transmit culture down, if that makes sense. So I'm saying, and to be quite frank, a lot of that comes with us identifying more and more with being British, what's cool, and English, than with being African or even Caribbean. You see what I'm saying?
This is right. So the pertinent thing I wanted to bring up with you specifically on Sunday, right, was, would it be beneficial to call ourselves English? Now you're probably going to say hell no, and that's fine.
No. Hell to the no.
No. I wanted to debate and argue. Inshallah, if I meet, not this week, but hopefully the week after at the park, because I'm saying I just want to throw something out there to hear you as a person that's rooted in this thing for years, and I think born into it. Then I think you can represent the opposite argument, because I'm dealing with it from a psychological perspective, and I'm saying with the youths, the reason I mention these youths right now, part of them being lost is identity, as you know that anyway. But I'm saying at least from the Caribbean, there was still that sense of black something, because there was all sort of like, you know what I mean? They unified, they got a lot of their friends because they worked in factories together. You get me? And they're going back to the Caribbean, and they had to work hard together. Now, us born here, a lot of it wasn't like that. So them youths that grow up here now from us that are born here, what's their status? As well as being bloody internet brain and whatever else you call it, right? Social media brain. I'm saying like, even if you say they're Caribbean or even they're African or whatever it is, you know, is it just a label and a sticker that really don't even have the value that it would have had for us? Do you get what I'm saying?
I hear you.
And is that part?
No, you're probably correct. And to be quite frank, that's happening because of there's like a commercialization around Africa and Africanness nowadays. So like everybody's, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then then long-standing invaders and people that are rich off of the stolen wealth that live in Africa right about now want to claim that they're African as well. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of confusion around it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not denying that, but I'm saying that the tradition like that affirmed African identity as a unified identity for our people, it comes from a certain particular place. So even if we say at some point that we've got to use a different terminology because of how it's been hijacked or whatever, or you know what I'm saying, that what that term meant and means for those who affirm it is a valid social political construct that we need to affirm. Just what I'm saying is my point.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is because I've got no problem with, let's say, Marcus Garvey and maybe up into the 80s and 90s, but I'm saying now that we're in this time where flooded information can go back and forth, I'm saying we can create something very quick. Is it kind of, without being offensive, outdated? Do you see what I'm saying? Like we could possibly very easy have, social media conferences where the older men, them that are respected for each community or whatever, can discuss, how are we going to do this thing? And then we buy into it, because most people wouldn't have, like the discussion, I think, on the unified language or the main language like Swahili, I think a lot of people are proposing.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? So I'm saying now is the time to get on with that thing. Do you see what I mean?
I hear you. I'll be honest with you though, bro. I think that's only possible. Like I don't see that happening and people getting behind it if in today's like 2019 they can't get behind the term African. Like, it's what I'm saying. I feel like, for example, like a lot of people that affirm blackness, on black power, or black pride, it was easy for them to embrace Africa because they were already on a thing of affirming an identity, if that makes sense, and a culture based upon history and that kind of thing. So I feel like where we are at the moment, to get to another stage, if there's going to be another stage, it would only help if right now where we are, more people were kind of on an African identity focus. And then, because those people are going to be asking the questions, well, what does this mean? And what's the value of this in 2019, if that makes sense? If you're not going to ask them questions then. You get me?
No, but I'm saying,
big up Spice 36. I ain't held you up yet. I don't think I've even held up Mr. Spacely and Everything is Everything and Brother Delani either. So big up on yourself, you know what I mean? Big up on yourself. All right, go on, bro. And then I'm going to go into national relations and then I'm going to wrap up the show still. But go on.
Big up. I'm just going to finish off. What I was suggesting, I personally think because in the subconscious of a lot of people that you're saying are not really feeling that term African, I think if you just go to the stage of the next step, then they might be more into that. Do you see what I'm saying? Because it's like they've been hearing this Africa. Like some people that think, we just been talking for time and blah, blah, blah. And it's sort of like that term associated with just talk. Do you get what I'm saying? So if I think now something started moving under another name and maybe another paradigm, I think that would work better. But that's just my 2 pence. You know what I mean? So
no, I hear that.
Big
up. Thanks for joining, man. Thanks for joining, man. What I say, national relation is the way I say.
How you doing? Yeah, I'm so glad. I mean, this is fantastic what you've done here. This has been my goal in all that I'm doing, even though it may seem strange. But I've always been trying to drive people to this very situation that you have here now. Fantastic. Right. I was just in the background, just listening to the African people from the mainland. I'm talking now, who were talking from their perspective, how they see it, and then you were mentioning how you were kicked off. I was shocked. What, you kicked off for declaring yourself African? I mean, this is very serious. But this, what is taking place now, is exactly the solution that needs to happen. We need to be talking on this level. So I haven't really got much to say with it. I'm all ears tonight, because this very situation, this very arena, is absolutely brilliant and fantastic, because it's the only way we're going to clear up identity issues.
Mm-hmm. Now, most
they don't clear up identity issues. I mean, just to throw through few things for you all to think about. The Abrahamic faiths, if like you were saying, African spirituality against the Abrahamic faith. I mean, that is, do you realize the magnitude of that situation? That is absolutely massive. Look at the armies and the military and the weapons that come under the Abrahamic faith. So how is African spirituality, I'm just throwing this out for future discussions, but it could be something very serious and very strange to counter the entire Abrahamic faith. That means all the Jews, all the Christians, all Islam. Because you're setting yourself against the entire lot, you know, by doing that. So that's a very serious thing. And the other thing I picked up by listening to what the conversation earlier on is I think it's this fear of a Liberia-like situation again. So it appears to me that the Africans of the mainland, if they don't keep control of the whole situation, they feel that you Caribbeans or us Caribbeans, we're going to go over there and start taking over Africa and colonizing Africa with, you understand? They say, you know, just Liberia, that's enough. I don't need to say anything more than that. Look what happened there.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I think that's something to be conscious of, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? I think that's something
very serious.
Yeah, to be quite frank. But I think that in the tradition, that people that have affirmed an African identity across the diaspora have been in concert, have oftentimes been in concert with each other. Do you know what I'm saying? For example, like in my hand, I'm holding a book here called "The Struggle Continues." And written by Kwame Nkrumah. And in it, chapter 4 is called "A Message to the Black People of Britain." And he's aligning
brilliant title.
And he's aligning. Yeah, I thought you like that. I thought you like that still. I thought you like that. And he's aligning what's happening in Ghana at the time, and in Africa at the time, with us who are over here, and just reminding us basically that we're in Britain because our home nations were colonized. And so our struggles, so to speak, as he puts it, are the same. But he's pledging support for all revolutionary activity that takes place over here. So I'm saying that oftentimes we'll find that the agendas are aligned for people that are coming with the same or with a similar Pan-African consciousness. So that debate don't have to take place. I think what happened in Liberia is that people went back with an American mentality more than a Pan-African mentality, if that makes sense, or more than an African mentality, if that makes sense.
Definitely. What's that book called, Shakaro?
It's called "The Struggle Continues."
All right, bless.
Kwame.
Marching through them Nkrumah books right now, right?
Yeah, I'm. You know what? I'm reading the autobiography. Because I've never read the autobiography. You know, I've read some other Nkrumah books, but I hadn't read the autobiography. So I'm reading the autobiography at the moment. So yeah. You know what I'm saying? So but yeah, African Tigress, and a lot of East Africans don't know about the Liberia situation, and it's true. And this is another point, because that Betty was saying about.
They don't know, did you say? They don't know. Did you say they don't know?
No, a lot of people don't know. I go as far as to even say that a lot of West Africans don't know about what happened in Liberia. But I'm saying
that is serious. Very bad.
But to be fair though, bro, it's not that unusual in the sense of the fact that, like, okay, African Tigress. You there, sis?
Yes, I'm here.
In Kenya,
Yeah.
Did you learn about the Mau Mau in school?
About what?
The Mau Mau.
Yes, we did learn about the Mau Mau.
What did you learn about the Mau Mau?
Of course, they were the freedom fighters of Kenya.
So did you study them like properly, or did you just learn that they were the freedom fighters of Kenya?
We learned who they were, who led the rebellion against the colonizers, and of course their role in helping Kenya attain independence in 1963.
So they teach about Dela Kimati and these things.
Yeah, of course, you learn about that.
That's interesting. That's a situation for me. Because I was gonna say, like, for example, in like Jamaica, yeah, like Marcus Garvey is the first national hero, and he's on the money, but they don't teach about him in school, right? So most people don't know about Marcus Garvey, apart from the fact that he's the first national hero. In Ghana,
really?
Yeah, seriously. I've been to Ghana, yeah, and most people don't learn about Kwame Nkrumah apart from the fact that he was the first prime minister. President of the country. Yeah,
no.
And that's about it. Like, you go to the university and not fight. The man wrote 19 books. Yeah, and you go to the university and you can't find these books in the library. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's madness like that. So I'm saying that, to me, it's not that unusual. Yeah, that people on the continent don't know certain things, or in the diaspora don't know certain things about their heritage wherever they are. Just what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, go on.
Okay, schooling in Kenya at primary school,
yes,
what people probably call junior school or something. In primary school, we did have when you get to about class 4, class 5, you start first learning about the history of the province or the location or the county that you come from.
Okay.
And then you learn about the nation. That's when you come to learn about the struggle for independence in Africa and all that. And then at some point you learn about the struggle. As like the higher you go, you learn about different, because the subjects are compulsory. All subjects are compulsory in primary schools. So you learn about the struggle and partition of Africa. And if you go to high school, you still learn about that in Form 1 and Form 2. But when you get to Form 3 and Form 4, those people who drop, you can choose subjects that you want to study once you get to Form 3 and Form 4. So those people who choose to study history, you will learn now more. You'll learn more about what you learned about Africa. But for me, for instance, the Liberia situation, I didn't learn that about. I didn't learn about that in school, and that's why I say, like, a lot of people basically don't know about that. Most of we could learn about the Kenyan, we could learn about the Maji rebellion in Tanzania. We didn't learn anything about Somalia, because I did history up to my 4th grade. We didn't learn anything about Somalia. We learned about Uganda. Now that you've mentioned it, I'm thinking about it. Like, all these countries are our neighbors. How come we never learned anything about Somalia?
Right. So you say you learned? Did they teach about, for example, Julius Nyerere?
Yeah, of course. We learned about Tanzania, the Maji rebellion, and socialism, Ujamaa. Like, we learned a lot about Tanzania.
That's interesting. I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pleasantly surprised by that. But it's interesting. So that, like, obviously, so Tanzania is to the south, Ethiopia is to the east. Yeah.
We learned a little bit about Ethiopia, but Tanzania and Uganda, are the most that we learned about. And of course, we learned about, like, Kwame Nkrumah. We learned about Patrice Lumumba.
Interesting.
We also learned about, like, really the Pan-African, because there's a topic on Pan-Africanism. So we learned about different Pan-Africanists across the world. But I feel like we did learn more about Tanzania and Uganda than any other African country. And I think there was also, especially because of Kwame Nkrumah, we did learn a lot about Ghana.
Right.
Ghana, Congo.
But not Somalia and not Ethiopia.
A little bit about Ethiopia, and I can't remember anything about Somalia.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised. Yeah. But yeah, because I was there's a book called Black Africa by Sheikh Anta Diop. He's a historian among other things. Yeah, and he makes a point in there as well in terms of on your point there, national racialism. Yeah, about the idea that oftentimes that Africans.
Hello.
We can hear you, sis. We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Can you hear us, sis?
Yeah, something's happened to her thing.
Yeah, I can't hear him at all. Can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him. Can you hear us? Sis? Can you hear me now?
African tigers can't hear us.
I can hear. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. We can always hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, cool.
So
yeah, I was saying that the idea, and this is why what things like African Tigress is doing is so important, yeah, because in the book Black Africa, the cultural and economic basis for African Federated State is the title. He's saying that oftentimes, yeah, like Africans he's talking about on the continent now, don't necessarily know Africa in the sense of the fact that Africa may know his country and the country may be next door to him, but he couldn't tell you, like, if you're in West Africa, how much could an African tell you about South Africa? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's the kind of education that we're going to need. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's why I'm always thinking like the curriculum actually needs to be revised. Yes. I feel like maybe for Kenya, we did learn a lot about other countries, but when I talk to people from other countries, they barely know anything about Kenya. For instance, well, I know, there are lots of people that's like really a lot of mixed races in Egypt. But I was talking to some of the people I know Egypt, and they told me they don't learn anything. I was telling them, oh, I'm going to Kigali, and then they were like, what's Kigali? I'm like, what did you learn in school? Because for the fact that we didn't learn into details about everything in every country, at least we did learn about all the countries in Africa, their capital cities, and just like a little bit of it. And then I told somebody like, I'm going to Kigali, and then they're like, what's Kigali? I'm like, what did you learn in school? Or where is Kigali? And then they start saying, oh, they told me that most of which they learn is only North Africa and Middle East.
Okay.
So like they don't know much about like the rest of Africa. So yeah, that's why I'm always like, no, the Kenyan curriculum. But I feel like we get exposed to a lot, but I feel like still more needs to be done, especially across the countries. Across the continent, a lot needs to be done in revising our education system so that you can learn more about us.
Yes, most definitely. Family, I've got some work to do. So I've got to jump off of YouTube now.
Can I just make this point?
Yeah, go on.
As I was listening to you all speaking, the whole conversation flipped on its head, and because I've heard this where people talk and say we need more education, and I think even in Europe, I don't even think countries in Europe know that much about Europe. They know that, but what the point I'm trying to make is, sorry to bring this up again, it's about banking. You see, that when you try to deal with identity politics and identity of different people, right? There's always confusion and discussion. And people are not sure if you're insulting them or if you're trying to get rid of them, or there's a lot of confusion. But when you go to a bank, or the way the banking system works, it kind of identifies and locks down and grids, puts everything, everywhere, every place. It thinks as a market. So they'll say, right, okay, we have a bank. We'd like to do some investment in this area or this country. And we're going to call this country, we're going to name it. So that they can name territory from a banker's point of view, from a business point of view. And then identity of the people becomes secondary. But if you push identity as a primary thing first, you'll keep going round and round in circles, and you'll never be able to educate people enough about the territories, in contrast to what a banker can. Because a banker can just say, well, you're this, and we're going to invest in you if you're under this title. And you'll say, okay, but it's just a bank. It's just a bank. You're not really seeing it as touching your personal identity.
Right.
Because banks have this kind of a magical, what's that word? They appear to be unbiased. That's the trick. A bank appears to be unbiased. So they can arrive and they say, oh yeah, can we invest? And they call you something. You don't really care what they call you.
Yes.
You don't really care because it's just a bank. But it's not until the power increases, then they're the ones who can divide and cut up the place according to in banking terms. It's a separate culture. I mean, this idea only just come just by listening to this conversation today. So I haven't really got your conversation today. So my words are not. I've got to think about it. But are you kind of catching the gist of what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think it's basically
mindset, and you're going along the ethnic and the people's personal feelings, because so I can say to you, look, you call yourself Shakara, and that's personal to you, and you have your other name or whatever. I can say, well, I'm going to call you 3256 B29. And we're going to investigate that. And you'll say, okay, because I haven't touched the Shakara. I haven't touched the name Shakara, have I? But you know the money's going to come through that code that I've identified you with that code. And even when you go to the banks, your name's on the statement, but there's an account number.
Right.
And you see the account number as not being. It's personal in that it holds your values and your assets, but it's not personal as in it's you. And you start to catch the. So people. Yeah. So a bank will go way ahead of controlling a whole territory, while people are sitting there over tea and dinner and arguing with each other. And they'll just they'll just take up the whole territory because they'll codify it. And you don't even realize that their name that they've now created for you and for that territory is more powerful than whatever you can come up with. And it's a lot faster as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, man, that's another conversation for other days, you know.
All right,
other day, you know what I'm saying. All right, Dr. Mumbi would say that those are stories for other days. Those are stories for other days, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, brilliant stream.
Give facts. We're trying, you know. We're trying. Yeah, I was gonna say big shout out to African Tigress. Big shout out to Haka, Emmett Brown, National Racialism, the Black Collect, Black Star, Bugs Negus. The ordained minister, the ordained atheist minister, Ultra Funky. I want to big up everybody that came through the panel today. You know what I'm saying? Big up Samaya. I can't forget Samaya. Big up Samaya. Yeah, and yeah, I trust this conversation will continue in it. You know what I'm saying? In more productive ways. Big up Betty. You know what I'm saying? Because even though she threw me off the panel earlier for absolutely no reason as far as I'm concerned. She's my sister. I mean, I have to love her. You know what I'm saying? So we just, you know what I'm saying, we send the love same way. You get me?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, big up all the ADOS watching, because I know some of you are saying, see Shakara, you defend these Africans, and they don't even see us African. Well, that's one of the reasons why I had the conversation, because not all brothers and sisters from the continent think like Betty. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's a reality. Yeah. So we've had Africans from Somalia. We've had Africans from Nigeria, Africans from Ghana, we've had Africans from Kenya, all who affirm the Africanness of brothers and sisters in the diaspora. So we give thanks for that. You know what I'm saying? Sister Tigress, Scat, you jumped off. I was gonna get you to announce where your next show is. But Tigress, when's your next show, sis? What you got coming up?
Sorry, what's the question? When is my next?
When is your next show, or what do you have coming up on your channel?
At the moment, I'm currently like really editing videos, some which I've been making in the past week. You know, I met the African diaspora team in Nairobi. When they're in Kenya. I think they're leaving tomorrow. They're actually leaving tomorrow in the morning.
Okay.
So yeah,
African Tigress. Was it you, the one that mentioned earlier on that sometimes people just use identify themselves as British so that they can get easier travel through the custody? Was it you?
Yes, it was me.
Yeah, that's a very serious point. Thinking about it, because can you see that it's more convenient to throw away your actual identity has no how can I say, it's of no significance when you're traveling. You're thinking, look, I've just got to get from A to B. If they want me to call myself British, or they want me to give them a British passport, whatever, I just want to get from A to B.
If we showed up at some point of entries in some countries, I would be asked for my bank account statement, and because I've been following up.
There you go. See, that's banking again. Yes.
They would ask for my bank statements. They would tell me, "Oh, you need to have this amount in cash." But if you showed up with your British passports, they would ask you for that. But me traveling with my Kenyan passports, they would definitely ask me for that.
Right.
Interesting.
Did you catch that, Shakara?
Yeah, I get it, bro. I hear it.
So that overrides your actual, real, personal, cultural identity, because you want to get from A to B. So you go into the matrix. You go into a certain mode. I don't really care. They don't need to know who I really am. They're not interested in my family. I've got to use this system to get from A to B as most comfortable and as easily as possible. I don't want the hassle. So
you also have to note this, because you are black, they could check and they would only let you go on when they realize that your passport is British. But if you are black British and there's a white British, they wouldn't even bother asking them to check what their passport is from. So it's like white British would have more advantage, than you would have better advantage being black British, and then we'll have the least advantage being black Africans.
Yeah, what she's saying, national racism, is that if there's a white Brit, they won't even ask me if my passport is British or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It won't even be a consideration. Yeah, because
that's right.
Because they already know that this guy is probably British. You know what I'm saying? Or American or something. Yeah. So yeah.
Exactly. So they trust you because they suspect that you've sold out your Africanness.
You know what I mean?
They're thinking that you're not going to be a hassle because you're not African. You believe yourself to be British. Yes. But therefore, they're going to get a hassle.
I heard that. Right, man's got to wrap up. Yeah,
very serious.
Go.
Sorry.
Last word.
Yeah, I'd like for you maybe to in the future bring up this conversation, because that there's an identity, the banking identity, because you notice the African Tigress mentioned banking statement. See, so when I brought the word banking, do you see how it kicks off?
Yes, sir.
She mentioned banking and she mentioned passport. That's the ID that matters. They don't really care about anything else. Banks, it goes back to banking.
Yes, sir.
The answer is in the banking.
Yes, sir.
You've got to understand what banking is and how it works.
Most deaf.
Yeah.
All right, bro.
That's it.
I got to wrap up.
Yeah. Have a good night.
Give facts. I'm gonna stay tuned to your channel, African Tigress, and see what you got coming out. Yeah. But I'm honored for you joining me on tonight, and I look forward to joining you in Kenya.
Sure, you're welcome to Kenya anytime you visit Kenya. I can show you around.
Yes, most def. I look forward to it. I'm going to be on it. You know, there was a slim possibility. I don't think it's going to happen, because I've got my business partners in Got Kush TV. We were looking to come to Kenya, and then we got an opportunity to go to Ghana as well. And I think Ghana's winning at this moment in time. So, but because there's a particular event happening in Ghana that they want to go to. But sometime next year, we're probably going to get to Kenya. So stay tuned.
You're welcome. Karibu Kenya.
Yeah, indeed. I'm gonna, by the time I get there, I'm gonna be at least semi-fluent in Swahili. So, so you can help me with that. All right.
Sure.
Family, thank you all for watching, taking part in the conversation. I do appreciate. And yeah, I'm gonna end it off now. I think Betty's still live, so you can go over to Betty and see what she's see how she's, you know, tearing man apart on her conversation right there. And I also think content over everything is streaming at the moment as well, so you can check out those ones if you want to take in more of the YouTube community over here. Once again, family, give thanks. Hotep Tendamwari. How you say bye in Swahili again, Tigress?
Kwaheri.
Kwaheri. I should know that, you know. That one was obvious. Yeah, Kwaheri, kings and queens, and I'll see you again at another broadcast. Peace.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.